Good evening, everyone. I call this meeting to order at 7:09 p.m. We're going to start off with the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Josh, followed by Carolyn, followed by Nico.
I motion to add a $15,204.10 discretionary fund transfer to Samahan Filipinos Cultural Night.
I second.
Josh motions, Tamim seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. Carolyn?
I motion, whoa, wait, I don't know if I can motion, but can I add CS transpo allocations to the agenda?
We have to motion those.
I motion, okay, so I motion to add CS transpo allocations to the agenda.
Second.
Carolyn motions, Nico seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved.
I have one more thing too. I'm sorry, Nico. I don't want to cut you off. I motion to add a joint statement regarding the GCGP referendum amendment to the agenda.
Second.
Carolyn motions, Kiara seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. Nico?
I motion to add BOD carryover allocations to the agenda.
I second.
Nico motions, Kiara seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. Have you?
First, can we start bag allocations, please? And then can we also add can I motion to add a resolution in support of Filipino workers and trade union organizers to the agenda?
I second.
Have motions, Kiara seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. Tommy?
And I motion to add a resolution to demilitarize mental health support and demand UCPD accountability to the agenda.
Second.
Tommy motions, Javi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, all abstaining. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. Any more amendments to the agenda? Josh?
I motion to add a $598.17 discretionary fund transfer to Samahan Filipinos P-Grad.
I second. Oh.
Josh motions, Kiara seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. Are there any more amendments for today? Josh?
I motion to add the 2025 to 2026 USAC election results to the agenda.
We have to certify them, right? We do, according to our bylaws.
Yeah. So the short answer is that your constitution is in conflict with itself. However, the most recent amendment to the Constitution that was passed by the voters in 21 states that you do not certify those elections. So we will follow the most recent amendment, and then next year we will work with the incoming council to fix said conflict.
Perfect.
But you should still read them into the minutes.
Okay. Are there any more amendments to the agenda? Josh?
I motion to add an elections code change to the agenda.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Josh motions, Happy seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. Josh?
Wait, sorry. So just to clarify, am I still adding the results to the agenda, just not as
Yeah, we already, because we're not voting on them. We didn't have to motion.
Sounds good. I have one more thing. I motion to add a $6,000 discretionary fund transfer to the elections board for ballot costs.
Second.
Josh motions, Kiara seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With an 11 to 0 to 1 vote, that is approved. Are there any more amendments? Seeing none, could we approve the agenda, please? Robbie,
I move to approve the May 20th USAC agenda.
Second.
Robbie motions, Javi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, all abstaining with a 13 to 0 vote, that is approved. We have minutes from May 13th. Is there any opposition to approving those? Seeing none, those are approved. We're now going to move into public comment. Just a reminder for everyone that's here for public comment, we have 30 minutes allocated total. And each public commenter gets 2 minutes to speak once. Some of our community guidelines include challenge ideas, not individuals, use gender inclusive and respectful language, and freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability. With that being said, do we have anyone that's here for public comment? Let's start with Layla.
All right, hello. My name is Layla. I'm with CalPERG, the student activist group here at UCLA, and I wanted to give a quick update for this week. Last week, congratulations to all of the new council that's just been elected. As CalPERG, we ran a couple of informational tabling events to make sure students knew how to get out and vote. We also held a clothing drive last week to gather donations for those in need. We also hosted a Jeopardy for our Oceans campaign so that volunteers could learn more about expanding marine protected areas as part of our Oceans campaign. We also tabled at the BRC event yesterday. That was super fun. So thank you for having us at that. Also, this Friday, this week, we're building up to our big benefit concert. We're trying to raise money for a women's shelter. And so that is going to be this Friday at 9 p.m. At DSIG. So you guys should all come to that. That's what we've been working on this week. So thank you guys so much.
Do you have anyone else that's here for public comment? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Sambale, and I serve as the P-Grad coordinator for Samahan Filipino. To the incoming council members, welcome. You are stepping into your roles at a pivotal moment, one where your decisions will profoundly shape the futures of students and communities that have long been marginalized and systematically neglected. P-Grad, alongside Afrograd, V-Grad, SPCN, and numerous other cultural programs exist not because this university generously carved out space for us, but because we have had to carve it out ourselves. We've done so in the face of persistent institutional erasure. Let me be unequivocal. Our total budget stands at $22,000. Of that, we have been allocated a mere $600 from the BOD fund, an insultingly inadequate sum representing less than 3% of what is necessary to serve our communities with dignity and respect. Despite applying to nearly every possible source of funding, we remain more than 5,500 short of meeting our budget. And with the recent BOD allocations, we have to ask, why did it take this long? Why are we receiving the support with barely 3 weeks left to prepare for an event of this scale and significance? This timeline is not just unreasonable, it's a reflection of how culturally rooted programs are consistently treated as afterthoughts, forced to stretch every dollar and every hour just to make our existence visible. We do not ask for pity, we ask for partnership, because our communities deserve more than acknowledgement. They deserve tangible institutional support, because our cultures are not accessories to the universities, they are a part of its foundation. This university frequently uplifts us in brochures, but not in budgets. It praises our resilience in speeches, yet deprives us of the resources that make the resilience necessary in the first place. To the new council, you are inheriting a broken framework, but within that is an opportunity to listen, to act, to invest in equity, not just perform it. So I stand here today to call for the immediate allocation of emergency funding to programs like ours that are still operating at a deficit. A revision of BOD funding guidelines to incorporate language rooted in equity, non-neutrality, so that our communities don't have to fight the same battle next year. This is not a momentary concern. It signals a deepening crisis rooted in years of neglect, one that will only escalate without deliberate intervention. And I want to be clear, the struggle is not confined within this four walls. We stand in solidarity with the organizers behind Rise for Rights, with PUSO, SLAP, Anakbayan, and GAB, all of whom have been naming and confronting the same entrenched system of institutional neglect. Together, we resist a university model that continues to prioritize profit over people. Rise for Rights is not a slogan, it is a collective call to action for an education that is free, culturally rooted, and student-centered. It is a demand to reimagine a university that doesn't just perform inclusion, but fundamentally commits to equity through material support and systematic change. Our work is interwoven, our demands are aligned. We do not fight for recognition in isolation, we fight for transformation together. We are not asking for favors, we are asking for follow through. This moment calls for bold, principled leadership. Show up, speak out, and invest in the future we are building together. Thank you.
Do you have any other public commenters? Yes.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alyssa Kosiko. I'm a fourth year UCLA and the Samahang Filipino Cultural Night Coordinator. If it has not been clear already, our cultural night is in 4 days on May 24th at Royce Hall. And if it has not also been made clear, SVCN was only allocated $600 from BOD for a cultural production that cost more than $65,000. SVCN is a culmination of 250 students' work from past summer to now. As I speak, many of my coordinators and cast members are working tirelessly to produce this show that will be seen by a full house in Royce that was sold out in less than 2 minutes. For the past 48 years, SVCN has been a pillar in the cultural night space at UCLA. SVCN provides this free, culturally relevant experience for its audience, and it provides pro-people education for its cast members who get to learn about Filipino culture in a way that's not offered anywhere else in this university. SVCN's total budget is $65,385. Again, we were only allocated $600 from the BOD fund, covering 0.09% of the total cost of this show. While we are immensely grateful for the most recent allocation given to us today, I want to emphasize the uncertainty that 4 days before the show, we have been left in financial uncertainty for the ways in which the university and the council is able to support this programming. Because of increasing costs put on a cultural production, we must consistently ask for community support for SVCN. I urge you to think, what does it mean for the council that say they prioritize cultural and educational events, that they are unable to even meet 1% of our needs, that we must desperately lean on our community for us to even survive. Again, SVCN is the biggest cultural night in the country. Universities and high schools across California and the nation look at this cultural event for education on what Filipino performance culture and Filipino stories represented on stage look like. Students come to UCLA for this opportunity to participate in these cultural events. Current BOD guidelines and its neutrality calls do not support us. Again, I urge the council to vote on revising point 5 under funding eligibility and rules of the BOD guidelines to include equitable language that recognizes necessity to support historically underserved and marginalized communities. And as I graduate from this school and usher in new leaders to take on the fight of our existence, I hope this new board, who are also being ushered in today, hear our demands and
Please come to your
act with
closing
urgency.
remarks.
Thank you.
Thank you. we have more public commenters in person? Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone, to both the outgoing and newly elected council. My name is Mika Kabebe, and I am a student as well as the external vice president of Samahang Filipino at UCLA, or SP. I once again am here to continue advocating on behalf of SPCN and our P-grad. 2 weeks ago, we were raising discrepancy in funding allocations across both events and how it has been an ongoing struggle to put on SPCN and pre-grad year after year, with this year especially difficult given our allocations of $600 for each of them. Last week, we demanded that there be revisions to the language of point 5 under funding eligibility and rules of the BOD guidelines to include language that allows the adjustment of funding for programming that engages underserved student populations. Tying both of these points to the campaign SP has taken up, Rise for Rights, we are here again advocating for pro-people, culturally relevant, and accessible education and resources. As a nationwide campaign under Kabataan Alliance, or KA, Rise for Rights has shown how time and time again, student unity and student power are essential to catalyzing progressive change in our community. We specifically highlight how you all as council members operate within the bureaucracy of this institution and recognize that this role comes with its limitations. Ultimately, we recognize that the primary reason behind the lower allocations is due to the current economic crisis, Trump's attacks on DEI, and UCLA's neglect of its students, as these are root causes of the issues that Rise for Rights campaigns on different campuses are raising. However, as our peers, we urge you all to fight against the systems that cause these barriers in accessing funding, in accessing resources, in accessing what we should be what should be going back to the communities that pay it forward. With that being said, the fight that we are waging with Rise for Rights goes hand in hand with the fight that PUSU SLA's labor resolution is waging, in that the struggles that are being highlighted stem from the suppression that is perpetrated by the systems of power in place. So with that being said, I once again reiterate you all to revise BOD funding guidelines, but also hear out the different communities that are going to be speaking here today. Thank you.
Do you have any other public commenters? Yes.
All right. Good evening, Council. My name is Jazzy Bermejo, and I currently serve as the president of Samahang Filipino here at UCLA. I stand before you once again to call your attention to the university's duly wielded neglect and repression of our community's efforts for free, culturally relevant, pro-people education in alignment with Kabataan Alliance's Rise for Rights campaign. As my peers before me have stated today and over the last 2 weeks, initial BOD allocations have perpetuated the inequitable funding that SP chronically faces year after year. From this and the extraneously neutral language within the BOD guidelines, the cyclical financial insecurity and instability that SPCN, PGRAD, and other cultural programming face under UCLA only continues to worsen. But this begs the question, where does the money go? As you'll hear from my peers that speak after me, this question can be answered in one sentence. It's funneled into the university's priorities of its own profit over its own people. One example of many is the UC's investment of millions of dollars in exploitative US military aid to the Philippines through various war and weapons companies, and that is also why I stand here before you in solidarity with PUSO and their proposed labor resolution. Yet, when we ask the university to extend that same financial support of millions of dollars to the very same people that it uses to champion diversity, so people like me, like others in SP, and like those that are standing with me right now, we are told it has no money to give. Though appeals may give us the opportunity for extra funding to help our cause this year, these are mere attempts at restitution and subject us to working within the system that initially failed us. Even as my term soon draws to a close, my passion for this fight and those of my peers will not end, the same way that mass issues like these will not end if change isn't enacted now. That is why I urge the council, the current council and the incoming council, as you step into your terms, to use your positionality and influence within the institution that harms us to advocate for our community alongside us. I call on the council to vote on revising point 5 under funding eligibility and rules of the BOD guidelines to include equitable language that recognizes the necessity to support historically underserved and marginalized
Please come to your closing remarks.
Pave the way for true equity in this institution and our university now and for years to come, and join Samahang Filipino in rising for our rights and rising for education. And please hear out my peers as they propose the labor resolution from PUSO West LA. Thank you.
we have any more public commenters in person? Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vanessa, and I'm speaking as the Vice Chairperson of PUSA West LA and as a law student and member of the Labor and Employment Law Association. I'm here in support of PUSA's resolution supporting Filipino workers and trade
Sorry to
unions.
cut you off. Are you an undergraduate student at UCLA?
I was.
Unfortunately, we're not allowed to accept public comments except from members of the Undergraduate Student Association, so current undergraduate students. I'm sorry about that. We have to move on to the next public commenter.
All right.
Do we have any other public commenters here in person? Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to continue reading the statement. I'm an undergraduate student here. I'm here in support of PUSO's resolution supporting Filipino workers and trade unionists. We urge the council members to listen to the students and community members who have mobilized here today. We urge the council members to pass the resolution and commit to supporting the Philippine Human Rights Act, which suspends military aid to the Philippines until the government stops committing human rights violations against its people. In the past 9 years alone, 72 workers and unionists have been murdered in the Philippines. This includes, but is not limited to, Victor Ageas and Melodina Kumanoy, who survived assassination attempts by motorcycle-riding gunmen, and Alex Dolorosa, who went missing and was later found dead with multiple stab wounds after the government targeted and red-tagged his union. As organizers, community members, and human rights advocates who live here in the US, we see very clearly with our own eyes who enables and facilitates these egregious human rights violations against Filipino workers. Since 2015, the US has delivered over $1.14 billion in weapons, aircraft, military equipment, and training to the Philippines. Meanwhile, the UC profits off the suffering of the Filipino people by investing hundreds of millions in the companies who create the weapons deployed in the Philippines to surveil, repress, and murder Filipino workers. It is no wonder that student organizations like Samahang Pilipino have to fight tooth and nail to secure funding for its cultural programming when the UC chooses to invest in weapons and war crimes over its own students. What we are calling for today is for the council to support this resolution and join us in pressuring our local representatives and the UC to stop using our tax dollars and tuition to fund human rights violations and use that money to actually serve the needs of the people. I also speak here as a law student and a member of the Labor and Employment Law Association. As labor law students seeking to help advance workers' movements and worker justice, we see the necessity for law students and lawyers to defend the rights of workers, to organize, and to expose human rights violations as we see them, not just in this courtroom, but outside as well. And that's why we're here today, not only to urge council members here today to pass the resolution in support of Filipino workers in the Philippines, but to make a call to everyone here to join us in taking action to pass the Philippine Human Rights Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other public commenters here in person? Yes, in the black.
Good evening. My name is Hannah, and I am here today speaking in support of PUSA West LA's resolution in support of Filipino workers and trade union organizers, as well as the Philippines Human Rights Act. Today, I want to begin my comments with telling the story of William Lariosa, who is a 64-year-old longtime labor organizer for Kulisang Mayo Uno, a federation of trade unions and workers' alliances in the Philippines. On April 10, 2024, he was last seen being arrested and forcibly abducted by fully armed soldiers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines at gunpoint. Despite urgent appeals from his family and a wide range of human rights organizations, including the Philippines Commission on Human Rights, William remains missing over 1 year later. For this past year and more, William's family has been filled with devastating grief and rage in the wake of his disappearance. His abduction is amongst one of many grave human rights violations under international law. I wish I had the time to tell you the story of all those whose lives have been disrupted or lost because of the US-backed counterinsurgency in the Philippines, but alas, I only have 2 minutes. The funding for these counterinsurgency operations against the Filipino people comes from continued US military aid. But why does this matter to us? Because the UC system profits from this repression through investments in militarization, including in the Philippines, while claiming that they don't have the money to meet the demands of workers here at UCLA, many of whom are migrant Filipinos. because the very same UC is profiting off repression and violence against workers like William, while Filipino students and other marginalized students here on campus are facing funding cuts to programs that are part of an actually pro-people education. That's why I'm also here in solidarity with Samahang Filipino, who are fighting for the kind of pro-people education that students deserve. So while the UC profits, the Filipino people suffer. And while the UC profit, it exploits the workers and students here too. Right now, I want us to remember William Lariosa and the many Filipino workers and organizers who were targeted for fighting for their rights. I want us to imagine what we could do with the millions of dollars being invested in these atrocities. And above all, I call USAC to take up the fight alongside us, starting with passing this resolution tonight, as well as meeting Samahang Filipinos' demands. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other public commenters in person? Yes, in the black shirts.
Hi, my name is James, and I'm here in support of PUSO's labor resolution and the Philippines Human Rights Act. You, as the USAC body of UCLA, have the privilege and the unique opportunity to shed light on the current atrocities being carried out against labor organizers and activists in the Philippines, funded and paid for by US tax dollars. As you may be well aware from the rampant violence that UCPD regularly unleashes onto its own student body, the UC collaborates with weapon component manufacturers, genocide complicit companies, partakes and benefits from the economic crisis that the US has facilitated in the Philippines through its military intervention, which has led to widespread harassment, extrajudicial killings, and the criminalization of the labor movement in the Philippines. Many of you will become workers when you soon graduate. And as fellow workers, we have a vested interest to stand in solidarity with labor at home, here, and in the Philippines. Filipino migrant workers are also continually exploited in West LA as well. When ASME workers bravely stand against all odds and put their jobs on the line to strike for better wages and working conditions, the UC turns a blind eye. Adopting the PUSO labor resolution as students who make up UCLA's student body sends a clear and strong message to the UC that students see through the corporate curtains, that false cries of budget deficits and hiring freezes are just evidence that the UC rather plunder its own student body, further militarize and shamefully contribute to the ongoing crisis in the Philippines, all the while worsening the cost of living and working conditions in the UC. The Los Angeles chapter of APALA, which I'm a member of as well, which is the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, has adopted the PUSO labor resolution. And I come here before you today to ask you to do the same as representatives of UCLA, which is over a third Asian. Just today, the US deported a Vietnamese and a Burmese migrant. And at a time when the Asian community is experiencing increased repression, USAC has a chance to advocate for Filipino students in UCLA, Asian workers, and take a stand to end the unjust US intervention in the Philippines, which has caused so much devastation.
Thank you. Do you have any other public commenters that are here in person? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jericho Chan Faipon, and I'm here with the Student Labor Advocacy Project of UCLA in support of PUSO's labor resolution, in support of Filipino workers and trade union organizers. We are a student organization fighting alongside student and career workers on campus for fair wages and working conditions, and we oppose all attacks on workers' rights, whether here at UCLA or in the Philippines. As we speak, workers and union activists in the Philippines are murdered, disappeared, surveilled, and criminalized under the guise of, quote, anti-terrorism and counterinsurgency through the Philippine government's National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, also known as NTF-LCAC, to deter these workers from fighting for just working conditions. The Center for Trade Union and Human Rights calls the NTF-LCAC, quote, nothing short of deplorable and alarming. Since 2016, 72 workers and union activists have been murdered by the Philippine government. At the same time, the US has approved the sale of $5.5 billion worth of weapons and other military equipment to the Philippines just last month. This is all because the US seeks to maintain its imperialist control of the Philippines, as the Philippines is a strategic ally that allows the US to maintain military dominance in the Asia-Pacific region in the context of escalating imperial tensions against China. Through its backing of human rights violations and terroristic counterinsurgency operations in the Philippines, which include the violent repression of workers and labor organizing, the US is able to maintain the Philippines as a puppet government for its imperialist intentions. And as part of the structures of US imperialism, the UC enables this violence in our homelands through its investments in war and weapons defense companies. This is at the same time that the UC refuses to fund better working conditions here in West LA for service workers on campus, many of whom are migrant Filipinos who have been forced to flee the Philippines in search of viable, stable work. And as my peers have highlighted, the UC has cut funding for programs and events to support and uplift historically marginalized students on campus, even while maintaining its investments in war and political repression. Because of this, we as students who pay tuition to the UC have the responsibility to combat the ongoing political violence against workers fighting for their rights both locally and in the Philippines, and to demand that the UC divest from war and weapons and reinvest into us, the students and workers who make the UC. In 2020, USAC previously condemned the Philippines Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020 and endorsed the Philippine Human Rights Act after Anak Bayan UCLA created an open letter addressed to Congressman Ted Liu that gained substantial support from the UCLA community. With this precedent, the Student Labor Advocacy Project of UCLA stands in support of PUSA West LA's labor resolution in support of Filipino workers and trade union organizers and call upon USAC to support this resolution. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. We have time for a couple more public commenters. Do we have anyone that's here in person? Yes, in the gray jackets.
Hi, first I wanted to ask if we can motion to extend public comments, please.
We can see after your public comment. We would need a council member to do that.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Gabriela. I'm representing Anak Bayan at UCLA, a Filipino national democratic organization of Filipino youth and students fighting for the genuine liberation of our people in the Philippines, the United States, and all people facing oppression. We're here in support of SPCN and PGRAD as they face severe neglect by the university, as well as PUSO's labor resolution and the Philippines Human Rights Act. We have come here to raise these demands because they are not distant issues, but because they are directly funded, fueled, and enabled by institutions like UCLA. As we speak, labor organizers and activists who are advocating for workers' fundamental rights continue to be murdered, forcibly disappeared, and unjustly targeted in the Philippines. They are repressed and criminalized as communist insurgents to deter their efforts to unionize. The US supplies continuous military aid to the Philippine government, which enables them to commit these human rights violations and terroristic counterinsurgency operations against its own people. Just over a month ago, the US restored its $500 million of military aid before the joint US-Philippine Balikatan War Games, furthering the exploitation of the Filipino people and their land for profit. The UC system enables this repression in the Philippines by investing our tuition dollars into weapons contractors who supply the tools that are used to commit these cruel human rights violations, instead of funding the needs of its students and better working conditions here in West LA, for many of whom are migrant Filipinos or come from migrant Filipino families. Ask yourself, do you feel supported as a student by the university? Do you and the students you serve feel supported by the funding cuts to your student services, to the prioritization of profit over your housing, over your financial aid? For the hundreds of labor leaders, human rights organizers, journalists, lawyers, environmentalists, and indigenous leaders that have been murdered, tortured, or sexually abused in the Philippines by the armed forces of the Philippines since 2016. Please continue to ask yourself, what does genuine investment in education look like? And are you receiving it? Please declare your commitment to the exploited laborers in the UC
Closing remarks.
and the broader community of students, including yourself, who face the backlash of prioritizing profit through violent means by supporting the labor resolution and the Philippine Human Rights Act. Thank you.
Thank you. I will be extending public comments, but given the nature of today's meeting, we can only accept 4 more public commenters total. We're going to start with Sujana, followed by 3 public commenters in person.
Yes, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm just giving public comment regarding the discretionary funding request that is made today. So this is a very last minute funding request that was, just made today because we just found out yesterday, the election board, that the cost of running the election on my UCLA, the ballot, is $6,000. And so this cost was never brought to our attention during all of our meetings with Seoul as well as with IT, like running my UCLA, planning the ballot. And so we just had no idea that this was an expense that needed to be planned for. And unfortunately, it's already allocated to the e-board stipends, to the campaign reimbursements, as well as to our publicity. And so there really is just no way of making this payment. To be completely transparent, we maybe have a surplus of about like $500. But really the request is $6,000 to meet that invoice, as some expenses are still like trickling through. And so I really do want to apologize for this. I know that this is like a significant request. We have other really important requests for discretionary funding, I hear. And so it is really unfortunate that this happened. But I'd appreciate your special consideration. We learned from my UCLA that this cost goes to maintaining the ballot, like on the website, to processing the data, to the actual staffing. And we did ask for a breakdown of the $6,000, and we learned that this is a flat fee that actually has been established by the Student Fee Advisory Committee like some 20 years ago. The fact that it has existed for so long does make it even more frustrating that we never knew about this. I know that I'm going to highlight this in my transition document, which will be submitted to student government support, and we'll really make sure that my successor has this information. But for now, we just have to find some way to pay the my UCLA team, and so I did appreciate special consideration of this request. Thank you so much, and I'm available to answer any questions. I don't know at what point you can ask me that, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sujana. We're going to move back to public comment in person. We have three more. If you have slots for three more public commenters, if you're here for public comment, please raise your hand. Go ahead.
Need to use the mic?
Yes.
Hi, my name is John. I'm a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and I'm also representing Anak Bayan at UCLA. I want to reemphasize that we are here in full support of Samahang Filipino, SPCN, and PGRAD as they face severe neglect by the university, as well as PUSO's labor resolution and the Philippine Human Rights Act. As students, our tuition should be used for meeting the needs of our students and the workers who support this campus, not for profit and war. Because of our forced migration, so many of us Filipinos are removed from our culture and seek out cultural organizations here on campus or take courses about the Philippines. Furthermore, these cultural programs are founded by and operated by students. We, the students, have always fought to establish and meet our own needs here at UCLA, knowing that our institutions deprive us of them. This is how we connect with our culture and understand our true history, which is foundational to a pro-people, relevant, culturally relevant, mass-oriented, and scientific education. UCLA has cited federal attacks on education and DEI as an excuse to cut funding for ethnic studies and cultural organizations and their programming, including PGRAD and SPCN, in favor of investing in the exploitation and destruction of our homeland, exacerbating the conditions that drive over 10,000 Filipinos out of the Philippines every day. The UC cares more about fulfilling its private interests rather than the student body and its workers. We call on USAC to pass the PHRA resolution and edit the neutrality language under point 5 of USAC BOD guidelines. We urge you, as our fellow students and peers, to acknowledge the threats to our cultural organizations and stand united to fight with us for a pro-people education. Express your commitment to serving marginalized student organizations and their programs, like SPCN and PGRAD. Use your positions and terms to hold UCLA accountable to serving and providing resources to its marginalized communities. And again, edit the neutrality clause under point 5 of USAC BOD guidelines and express your commitment to serving these marginalized student organizations and SPCN and PGRAD, those programs. As Filipino youth and students, Anak Bayan UCLA will continue to take up the Take Back Our Education campaign and make it clear to the UC that we will not accept the funding cuts while they prioritize profit over people. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more public commenters here in person? Yes, in the red.
Good evening, Council. My name is Georgette Urbano, and I am a member of Samahang Filipino, along with Gabriela West LA. I wanted to reiterate SPCN and PGRAD have received significantly less BOD funding this year. SPCN is not just an event. It is a culmination of months of community building, political education, and creative expression. SPCN is often the first time Filipinx students, especially transfers, first gen, and working class students see their culture and history reflected on stage. Since so many of our families are forced to leave the Philippines due to the repression and lack of livelihood in our homeland. For many of us, it is a home we don't find anywhere else at UCLA. Similarly, P-Grad is more than a ceremony. It is a celebration of resilience against an institution that overlooks us. This is why it is harmful when BOD funding guidelines enforce neutrality without context. Point 5, which prohibits funding based on perceived political positions, ends up taking a colorblind approach that ignores the very real inequities marginalized orgs face. We're asking you to revise that clause to allow adjustments to funding for programming that serves historically undeserved communities. Furthermore, I also urge you to support resolution and solidarity with Filipino workers and trade union organizers. For decades, women and queer labor leaders in the Philippines have been harassed, red tagged, and even murdered for organizing. This violence is deeply political, and silence from institutions like this one only enables it. We ask you to stand with us, united as fellow students. Revise the BOD guidelines, support this resolution, demand the US to pass the Philippines Human Rights Act. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one more public comment here. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mahana Gurung. I'm a first-year undergraduate, and I'm representing Samahang Filipino and Gabriela West LA. We are a Filipino national democratic organization fighting for the genuine liberation of Filipinx women and queer folks in both the United States and the Philippines, and we strongly support the Philippine Labor Resolution because the targeting of workers in the Philippines is part of a larger system that impacts our diaspora and demands our attention. My mother came to this country because there were no jobs left to come home to. My family, like many others, were separated, pushed apart by economic displacement, by political repression, and by the absence of real opportunities back home. This isn't accidental. These are the very conditions that trade unions in the Philippines are fighting to change, and they're being red tagged, harassed, and killed for doing so. Here at UCLA, I have found a community through spaces like SP and Gabriela, spaces that have helped me understand the root causes behind my family's migration. But this education was not handed to me. It was something that I had to search for, and that's why this resolution matters. Women union leaders like Melodina Gumanoy were targeted by gunmen on their way to work. Queer organizers like Alex Dolorza have disappeared and been murdered. And yet the US has sent $550 million in military aid to fund this violence back home. At the same time, the UC invests in weapon manufacturers, money that is stolen from our education and workers here and in the Philippines. When we talk about pro-people education, we're talking about the rights to learn why our families were forced to migrate, how state violence operates, and what solidarity looks like in action. This resolution is about Filipino labor, the right to live without fear, and reclaiming our right to know and name our histories. It's about confronting the violence that displaces and separates our families, and it's about reminding institutions like UCLA, you cannot claim diversity while funding displacement. Therefore, we urge USAC to take a clear stand, support the resolution,
Come to your closing remarks.
protect Filipino students in our cultural spaces like SPCN and P-Grad, and support justice both here and in the Philippines. Thank you.
Okay. I will now close public comment at 7:52 p.m. and we will move on to funding, starting with capital contingency.
Hello, this week we had a total capital contingency request of $4,208.49. We recommend an allocation of $4,238.49 for 2 USAC entities and 2 non-USAC entities. And I'm happy to answer any questions, and I've also pasted it in the chat.
Could someone motion those, please? Have you?
I move to approve the recommended allocation of $4,238.49 to 2 USAC entities and 2 non-USAC entities.
Second.
Avi motions, Robbie seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With an 11-0 to 1 vote, that is approved. Next, we have contingency.
This week we had a total contingency program request of $69,666.24, and we recommend an allocation of $35,809.72 for 2 USAC entities and 65 non-USAC entities. And I'm also happy to answer any questions, and it's also in the chat.
Could we motion, please? Happy.
I move to approve the recommended contingency programming request of $35,809.72 for 2 USAC entities and 65 non-USAC entities.
Second.
Happy motions, Robbie seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 12-0 vote, that is approved. Next, we have SFS allocations.
This week, SFS allocates $4,446.77 to 4 non-USAC entities and 1 USAC entity.
Is there any opposition to that allocation? Seeing none, we're going to move on to SWC.
This week, for the SWC Programming Fund recommends a total of 2 allocations totaling $960, both to non-USAC entities.
Is there any opposition to that allocation? Seeing none, we're going to move on to ARC, if anyone has. So, Lorelai.
ARC is recommending an allocation of $2,255.08 to 1 non-USAC entity and 1 USAC entity.
Is there any opposition to that allocation? Seeing none, that is approved. Do we have TGIF numbers?
TGIF recommends an allocation of $12,027.40 to 4 non-USAC entities and 1 USAC entity.
Bruin Card and Laundry Grant.
Hello, the Bruin Card Grant recommends an allocation of $25 to 3 individuals, and then the Laundry Grant recommends an allocation of $55 to 11 individuals.
Is there any opposition? Seeing none, we're going to move on to CS Transpo.
CS Transpo recommends an allocation of $14,840.43 to 9 non-USAC entities and 6 USAC entities.
Could you motion that, please, Carolyn?
Yeah, I motion to up the CS Transpo allocation of $14,840.43 to 9 non-USAC entities and 6 USAC entities.
Second.
Carolyn motions, Happy seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. And next, we have BOD carryover allocations.
All right, this cycle, the USA/BOD fund from carryover allocations had a total requested allocation of $271,581.72 and recommends an allocation of $121,581.72 to 30 non-USAC entities and 1 USAC entity.
Could you motion that, please, Nico?
Of course. I motion to approve USA BOD's carryover allocation of $121,581.72 to 30 non-USAC entities and 1 USAC entity.
I second.
Nico motions, Kiara seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. Next, we have a special presentation titled Transfers in USAC by Hiram and Mona.
Hi, my name is Haram Yoon. I'm the USAC TSR elect.
And hi, you guys know me, but for everyone else here, hi, I'm Mona. I serve as this year's transfer student representative, and this is my last meeting.
Don't make us cry.
The next slide.
All right. So today we're just going to be going over a quick slideshow. I'm going to bring in some stats from USAC 24-25, current problems that USAC faces when it comes to transfer inclusivity, solutions for the new incoming USAC council, and ways to be more transfer friendly as student leaders.
Next slide, please.
All right, so the numbers aren't quite shown properly here, but I would like to point out that from everyone we talked to, or the roster sheets that I stocked personally. This was the statistic for however many exec and directors there were in each office that were transfers. Mona did a lot of this actually.
Yes, if you received a text message or call from me, this is why that was.
I would like to point out Gen Rep 3, AAC, and ISR. One, that singular transfer in that office was me. So let's take a look at this. Let's take it in for a second.
And as you guys all might be aware, she can't continue in those offices next year because she will be serving as TSR. But yeah, as we can see, like this is not very proportionate to the amount of transfers we have in our student population as a whole here. So next slide, please. Yeah, so you guys might remember like when we started off our term, I also stood up here and gave a presentation about guys, like include incoming transfers in your director applications, and like made a whole spiel about that and like did some outreach to community colleges. And as you guys might have heard over like this year a few times, I've kind of brought up how we make up almost as transfers almost 30% of the student population here. I believe exactly 24.3% this year, but you know, the numbers like kind of vary from year to year. Yeah, and as we just saw, the numbers don't really align. With these numbers, we have less than 10% of our leadership within our offices this year, well, excluding my office, making up only less than 10% of the leadership within our offices, like in our director positions, which is a little unfortunate because you know it is a difficult process to get a exec or director position within USAC for all students, and we can acknowledge that, but it's disproportionately inaccessible for our transfer students, especially for our incoming students who, even though they are entering students, like I don't know how many times I can say this, but they have so many amazing experiences, whether at the community college level or their other previous higher education institutions, that make them qualified applicants and qualified people to be leaders within your offices, even if they don't necessarily have that experience here at UCLA. And with director applications for next year, at least two. For last year, I can't remember how many of our councils office applications for director positions closed before June, but I believe off the top of my head, I can say for sure at least one. That does make it even more difficult for those incoming students who might still be deciding between colleges, like who might still like be on the wait list and so on and so forth to like decide whether or not to apply. Because like, as we all know, like the TSR office shouldn't be the only transfer heavy office in USAC, because as transfer students, our voices are important and should be present in each and every single leadership and decision-making space, because what we have to say as transfers isn't just limited to, hey, we should be more transfer inclusive. It should be in all of these spaces. Next slide.
Okay, so I don't know how to top that, but I personally am strongly urging every newly elected council member to push back their exec and director deadlines after the June 1st SIR deadline, or give transfer students the extension to submit applications past that deadline. A lot of transfers are also waitlisted or waiting for other college decisions, so USAC or like extracurricular activities aren't even on their radar until after the SIR deadline. And this just makes it really difficult to get involved. I know that a lot of commissions, sorry not to call you guys out, close your guys' applications before June 1st. And although it's unfortunate, we just want to make sure that every single student coming in has that equal opportunity. I don't know if Mona mentioned it, but I believe the freshman SIR deadline is May 1st. So that just goes to show how disproportionate it is for transfer students to get involved within USAC. And additionally, just to plug the first event that TSR and EVP are hosting together for this new USAC year, we're collaboratively hosting a virtual transfer leadership fair through Zoom for incoming transfer students on June 6th, 5 to 7 p.m. So consider attending the event to speak directly to prospective office applicants. And if you can't make it, consider sending a representative from your office. And if you are responsible for USAC appointments this year, consider posting an advertisement about it on Instagram in collaboration with the USAC TSR account that I just got access to today. And finally, this upcoming school year, the TSR office will be launching an initiative to ensure that transfers have the resources they need to succeed and serve full terms within USAC offices while adjusting to life at UCLA. So if you hire new transfer students in your office, let's keep in touch. So here are some ways to be more transfer friendly as student leaders. I feel like this is applicable to everyone, incoming and outgoing USAC officers. The first of which is to advocate alongside the TSR to shorten time-based eligibility requirements for appointed positions that disadvantage transfer students with less time at UCLA. Simple additions like transfers encouraged to apply in your exec, director, staff applications can make a big difference in creating a more welcoming environment for transfers, and just reflecting on and challenging any internal biases you may hold about transfer students and their place at UCLA is also really helpful. Uplifting and celebrating non-traditional leadership paths, because being a four-year student isn't a requirement to lead or make an impact in student government. Staying informed about what the Transfer Student Center and the Office of the TSR are doing, and consider collaborating with them to help market your events to the transfer student community. And if you're ever unsure about how something might land with transfers, just talk to me. Transfer students come from incredibly diverse walks of life, and it's important not to generalize our experiences. So yeah, I really hope you guys take this to heart. Yay! Next slide. Wait.
Thank you.
Thank you. We love transfers.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you both so much for your presentation. We really appreciate it. For the rest of the meeting today, we're gonna have somewhat of an untraditional format. We're gonna start with old business, followed by new business, then move on to officer reports in reverse order. So we're gonna start with Chris Ramsey's bylaw change. Unless there's anything you want to add or anything that changed, I think we should be good to go.
Yeah, I think we already went over everything last week. I think this will be really helpful for our council, for future councils. This is something that could really benefit people when they're meeting with administration in the future, and also with continuing long-term projects. So yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts on it. Otherwise, we can vote.
Any questions? Seeing none, can we get a motion? Ramsey.
A motion to approve Article 5 bylaw change.
Second.
Ramsey motions, Nico seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 9 to 3 to 1 vote, that is approved. We're going to move on to new business, starting with the discretionary fund transfer to Samahan Filipino Cultural Night. I believe we have someone presenting, Josh.
Hello again. I am Alyssa, the Samahang Filipino Cultural Night Coordinator, and I just wanted. Wait, this is short. Pause. Sorry. Okay, so I just wanted to give more of a detailed rundown of how much it costs to put on our cultural night this year, and why we are urgently asking for any emergency allocation to our cultural night. So, okay. So like I said, our budget is $65,385.66, $43,434.80 goes to Royce Hall and the Royce Hall facility. $3,148.26 goes to cash shirts that all casts receive as being a part of our cultural night. $6,000 goes to honoraria to the Randalia Club of.
Can we replace the mic, please? Thank you.
Hello. No worries. Yeah. $6,000 goes to the Randalia Club of Los Angeles, which are cultural bearers that play traditional Filipino music for our show. $9,152.60 goes towards material culture for 250 cast members and set materials for our original 2.5-hour theatrical production, and $3,650 for our photographer and videographer for the day of the show. Our current funding allocations total to $8,600. From BOD, we get $600. From CPC regular, we get $4,000. From ARC, we are splitting with PGRAD and we are getting $500. And from SSP, we are getting $3,500. And with that, like I mentioned in my public comment, we depend severely on our community in order to have a chance on holding an event as large as ours. So we use crowdfunding that's projected to be $18,000. We have cast dues to offset the costs of the $65,000, which comes out to $11,402.76. We have external ways in which that we try to fundraise through performing at external events, through our dance troupe, and money from our honorary from there. It comes out to $1,186.26, and various food run fundraisers around UCLA and Westwood comes out to $373.48. That accumulation is $30,962.50. And this, with all this together, this means that we still need $25,823.16 in order to pay for all that is required for our cultural night this year.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Nico?
Hello, I help oversee the BOD fund, so I just wanted to give you some information on what happened with allocations this year, and also some information on our freshly approved carryover allocations that just got approved today. So for spring 2025, we had a total request of over $423,000, and our budget only was $75,000. So because of that, we were only able to fund 17% of our total requests, and which is why your BOD allocation was so low. It had nothing to do with the merit of your event or the merit of your application. It was just because we didn't have money to go around. And then also, it's like BOD's internal policy this quarter to reduce funding for student orgs that apply multiple times to ensure that all student orgs are able to get some funding, which is why you got $600 for each fund. Typically, if someone only applied once, you would have gotten the full 1,200. But I just wanted to give you the transparency. It had nothing to do with the merit of your student org or your application. It just all came down to funding. However, with our freshly approved carryover allocations, we were able to get more funding from USAC carryover. And as such, your club received $5,000. I'm just trying to check for which event. You got $5,000 for what I believe is your graduation, and then $4,400 for culture night. So you were able to get almost max funding with carryover, which was able to supplement what we originally gave you in the original allocations.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I think we should amend the amount we're allocating based on that. So how much more are we giving them as compared to what we were giving them before? Nico?
For BOD?
Yeah.
They originally got 600 for each event, and then they got 5,000 for graduation and 4,400 for culture night. Was that what you were asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, how much was it for culture night?
Culture night was 4,400.
And Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 15,000 wasn't taking into account the BOD rollover, right?
No, but they still, sorry, they still need over $20,000 to fund SBCN, so this won't even fully cover it.
Okay, so this wasn't covering the entire amount anyways.
No.
Okay. That's fine with me then. Does anyone have any objections? Can we get a motion? Josh?
I motion to allocate $15,204.10 from our discretionary funds to Samahan Filipino Cultural Night.
Second.
Josh motions, Happy seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that discretionary transfer is approved. We are now going to move on to, We're now going to move on to the second discretionary transfer. Josh, do we have someone else presenting, or? And Nico, how much did we end up approving for PGRAD?
P-grad got 600 in the original allocation and an additional 5,000 in carryover.
So do we still need to, Josh, do we still need to approve the 600?
They need the extra 600 to cover the remaining cost of the event.
Okay, sounds good. Does anyone have any objections? Have you? Oh. Any objections? Motion. Have you?
Sorry. I move to approve the recommended discretionary fund transfer allocation of $598.17 to Samahang Filipino P-grad.
I second.
Have you motions, Tony seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. A 13-0 vote. That is approved. Next, we have a resolution. Javi, feel free to read through it or summarize.
Hi. So Puso was delayed, trusted me with reading through this, so I'm gonna read through all of it. Also, it's my last meeting, so y'all can't tell me shit. So a resolution in support of Filipino workers and trade union organizers. Whereas under President Rodrigo Duterte's administration, 56 labor leaders, activists, and organizers were killed for their participation in unions and organizing. And whereas the Kilusang Mayauno KMU or May First Movement, a federation of trade unions and workers' alliances in the Philippines, reported that 72 workers and unionists have been killed in the country since 2016. And whereas red tagging entails the malicious harassment and blacklisting of individuals or organizations critical or not fully supportive of the actions of a sitting government administration in a country. And whereas the Philippine government has utilized red tagging and other forms of surveillance to intimidate workers and further discourage them from joining unions. And whereas the Commission on Human Rights in the Philippines has stated that the administration's red tagging has endangered the lives of many members of Philippine labor unions, asserting that branding any group as a communist front without proper trial violates their constitutional guarantee of presumption of innocence. And whereas in 2018, Victor Aguias, labor union leader of the Nagahinsang Mamumo, sa Suyapa farm. I'm so sorry for the pronunciation, but Namafusa Naflu KMU, who stood against the Japanese giant Sumitomo Fruit Corp or Sumifru in the Compostela Valley province, survived an assassination attempt by motorcycle riding gunmen who ambushed him while on his way back to work. And whereas Melodina Gumanoy, labor union leader and secretary of Namafusa, was also targeted when motorcycle riding gunmen attempted to kill her while she was commuting to work in Packing Plant 250, which is owned by Sumifru. And whereas in 2023, Alex Dolorosa, a union member of a labor outsourcing group, BPO, Industry Employee Network, went missing and was later found dead after he and his organization had been red tagged by the Philippines government. And whereas labor organizations have also been labeled as legal fronts of an underground armed struggle movement and arrested activists who were routinely alleged of possessing firearms and ammunition. And whereas the management of the Coca-Cola Company's operations in the Philippines is using red tagging in order to undermine labor organizing and spread fear among workers. And whereas the National Task Force to end local communist armed conflict is an anti-insurgency task force launched by Rodrigo Duterte, which has targeted left-wing groups and other political opposition in the Philippines. And whereas the Supreme Court of the Philippines has found Lorraine Badoy Partosa, who was the former spokesperson of NTF ELCAC, guilty of indirect contempt for red tagging a Manila Regional Trial Court judge. And whereas groups such as Karapatan and the Philippine Universal Periodic Watch Review have been long calling for an end to both red tagging and the NTF ELCAC. And whereas the United Nations Special Rapporteur on freedom of opinion and expression, Irene Khan, has urged President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to dissolve the NTF ELCAC. And whereas National Security Advisor Eduardo Año recently rejected Khan's proposal. And whereas the current president, Bongbong Marcos, continues to reject calls for the abolition of the NTF ELCAC, despite a 2024 ruling by the Philippine Supreme Court that red tagging threatens rights to life, liberty, and security. And whereas the United States has provided more than $550 million in military aid to the Philippines since 2016, And whereas in April of 2025, 20 F-16 fighter jets and other military equipment worth 5.5 million US dollars were approved for sale by the US to the Philippines. And whereas Representative Susan Wild from Pennsylvania District 7 has introduced House Resolution 1433, the Philippine Human Rights Act, which imposes limitations on providing assistance to the police and military of the Philippines. And whereas in 2020, the USAC previously condemned the Philippines Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020 and endorsed the Philippine Human Rights Act after an open letter created by Anak Bayan UCLA to Congressman Ted Lieu amassed the signatures of over 275 individuals and organizations, with 115 being from the UCLA community, including but not limited to Samahang Filipino, the 580 Cafe, the Student Labor Advocacy Project, Students for Justice in Palestine, Students Against Hindutva Ideology, LCC Theater Company, Philippines Pre-Law Pipeline, Broome Consent Coalition, UCLA Radio, UCLA Women's Rugby, and Unión Centroamericana de UCLA. Then, therefore, let it be resolved that Puso West LA, solidarity organization of Filipinos and non-Filipinos in the U.S. committed to supporting a just and lasting peace in the Philippines, and the organizations who have signed on to this letter demand immediate action to end the violence against Filipino trade unionists and commit to standing in solidarity with the labor union in the Philippines. And so therefore let it be resolved that Puso West LA and other organizations who have signed on to this letter demand for NTF EC LAC to be disbanded. Therefore, let it be resolved that Puso West LA and organizations who have signed onto this letter demand for institutional divestment from weapon manufacturers that make the weapons used to surveil and kill Filipino trade unionists. Let it further be resolved that Puso West LA and organizations who have signed onto this letter demand that the United States federal government pass the Philippine Human Rights Act, which suspends military aid to the Philippine government until they cease violation of human rights. Let it further be resolved that the USAC endorses the Philippine Human Rights Act and calls upon local congressional reps, such as Representative Ted Lieu, to introduce the PHRA and call for a hearing on the Philippines human rights situation in the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee. And let it finally be resolved that the USAC calls upon the University of California to openly condemn the repression and killing of Filipino trade unionists and express support for the Philippine Human Rights Act. Excuse me.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Seeing none, could we get a motion? Have you?
I move to adopt the resolution in support of Filipino workers and trade union organizers.
Second.
Have you motions? Was that Karen or Mona?
It's Mona.
Mona seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. We're going to move on to the joint statement concerning GCGP amendments. Karen, whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's quite long, but feel free to click on it, skim through. But when the amendment, or not the amendment, when the first referendum passed in 2020, giving good, close, good people access to student fees to provide the basic needs services that they have, they created a charter that kind of just talked about the background of the organization, the process in which they passed the referendum, as well as kind of what would happen if with these fees in different situations. So this update is something created by Good Close Good People leadership, and it is just basically adopting and like adding on to the history that's outlined in that original charter, which is on the USAC website and was passed in USAC in 2020. And this document reaffirms that unlike the original referendum, now this new amendment enables Good Close Good People to have full discretion over how to utilize its referendum funding. So feel free to look through, but Good Close Good People did create this, and then some USAC members looked over it. I signed it, but just in order to have it on the USAC website, and so that history is there, that is the purpose of this document. So if anyone has any questions, let me know. But yeah, if not, we can vote, or I can motion. Oh, okay, I'll motion then. I motion to, I don't know the language for statement, but I guess I motion to approve the statement on the 2025 amendment to the 2020 Good Close Good People Basic Needs referendum.
Second.
Karen motions, Robbie seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 12 to 0 vote, that is approved. Next, we have Tommy's resolution to demilitarize mental health support and demand UCPD accountability.
Okay, I'll just summarize this real quick. So basically, this resolution calls on UCLA to shift its approach to mental health crises by demilitarizing campus responses and reducing UCPD involvement. It criticizes the university's disproportionate investment in policing over mental health resources, highlighting the limited availability of in-person CAP services and the over-reliance on residential staff and police during after-hours emergencies. The resolution argues that only trained mental health professionals, not police or untrained staff, should respond to crises and determine the need for psychiatric holds. It proposes creating a 24/7 mobile CAPS unit, incentivizing clinicians to work during high-need hours and ensuring mental health professionals lead crisis responses both on and off campus. The resolution also demands accountability from UCPD and a reevaluation of its role in student life. It condemns incidents where students, particularly Black and Brown students, have been traumatized or criminalized during mental health emergencies, often being handcuffed or publicly humiliated. The resolution further calls for an end to police-led trainings, such as active shooter drills and RA scenarios, citing student discomfort and the insensitive use of real-life footage. Instead, it proposes these trainings be led by mental health professionals or workplace leaders to create a safer, more trauma-informed campus. Ultimately, the resolution demands a humane, professional, and non-carceral response to student mental health needs.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, can we get a motion? Kiara.
I motion to approve the resolution in support. Oh, wait, sorry. Wrong one. Wait, okay. I motion to approve the resolution to demilitarize mental health support and demand UCPD accountability.
I second. Kiara motions, Tamim seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, all abstaining with a 12 to 0 vote. That is approved. Next, we have three election related stuff, starting with the election code change. Sujana, go ahead. It's a pretty small change, I believe.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Josh, for sharing your screen. So this is just a quick change. So to give some context, this is related to where physical campaign material can be distributed on campus. With the existing code, it's basically mentioned in two parts, which you see there. First, where it says that campaign participants can campaign on Bruinwalk/Westwood Plaza, and then where it says where campaign material cannot be distributed. So basically, an issue came up this year where it was a general understanding between candidates that that first section of the code where it says that you can campaign on Bruinwalk/Westwood Plaza limited the distribution of flyers there. And then we had the issue come up when we received a complaint about it. And when I, raised the issue with my solo advisor, we learned that that's actually not what the code has historically been interpreted to mean, that it doesn't limit the distribution just to Bruinwalk/Westwood Plaza. I spoke to also people who have campaigned in the past who said that their interpretation was that they weren't limited to Bruinwalk/Westwood Plaza. But, it happened this year and people have different interpretations. So just to make sure that, in the future, we can do this little thing to get people off on the same foot. I think it also helps to make it clearer. I just combined the two, remove the mention of Bruinwalk/Westwood Plaza to say you can distribute on campus as long as you don't inhibit the normal flow of traffic. And then those exclusions, specific exclusions are kept. So let me know if you have any questions about that change. I hope it'll be.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we get a motion? Bueno.
I move to approve the election code change. Is that it?
That should be fine.
Second.
When our motions, there will be seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hand. Was that against? Or abstaining? Abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 12 to 0 to 1 vote, That election code change is passed. Next, we have the $6,000 discretionary funds transfer that we talked about. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Nico?
How much does this leave discretionary at?
Ooh, okay.
Like exactly zero,
Based on which budget?
based on the one that came out today.
I have a processing rec from discretionary.
If I may, depending on that amount, we do have like about $1,000. Well, actually, no, I don't think that's true. Like about $500 like left in our budget, so we can like I don't know what I don't know if like $500 is the kind of money you're waiting on from discretionary, but
It's fine. I can just cover the rest. Because Sujana, is 5,500 fine?
Yes. Yes.
Are you sure?
I really cannot say I'm 100% sure just because like we have like a few like recs trickling in, but like I know that right now I've left like at least $1,000 and I'm saying $500 as a conservative estimate, so I think actually now I can say it should be fine. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Could someone motion for 5,500? Have you?
I move to approve the recommended discretionary funds transfer to the election board for ballot cost for $5,500.
I second.
Have you motions, Josh seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 vote, that is approved. And last but not least, Sujana, we have the election results.
Yes. So I can maybe just like go, I don't know, you could go through this briefly. You can see like the voter turnout above, which was really great. And then to like explain the results of the president vote a bit, with like instant runoff voting, you have those 3 candidates that got dropped after the 3 rounds were run. And then Diego and Tamim were left, and then Diego was selected after the redistribution of votes. And then continuing, it is pretty straightforward with like there only being 2 or 1 candidate. With the general representative with the general representative election office, the threshold to be elected to the office was to receive 1,374 like ballots cast, so like I think to be ranked at all. And so the candidate who receives the lowest amount of like rankings gets dropped, yes, and then it goes on like that. And then all the rest is pretty straightforward. Yes, so if there are any questions about
Any questions? Thank you so much, Sujana, for running the elections. We really appreciate all your work.
Thank you so much. Wait, I just wanted to say quickly that, congratulations to you all on completing a year, like just being here at the end of it. It's an accomplishment in and of itself, never mind the work you all did, and congratulations to everyone who was elected as well.
Thank you, Sujana.
Thank you.
We're now going to move on to officer reports in reverse order. So we're going to start with administrative representatives. Is Orlando, do you have any updates?
Hello, everyone. No, I don't have any updates today.
Thank you, Jessica. Lori.
I don't have any updates, but I just want to say it has been an absolute pleasure working with you guys this year, and I'm happy to have some of you back next year.
Thank you, Lori. Peter, for the first time in person. No updates? Thank you. And Jonathan.
Hey, hi, hello for the last time. I do have updates for you. Some of these you've heard before. I am still missing one transition document, and that is from Kyland. If you have contact with Kyland, if you see him, anything, please. Yep. If you have outstanding bills, please pay them now, preferably like this week. The SGA rec deadline is not until the 20th, but you all will lose access to your emails at the latest next Friday. So I highly encourage you to submit any recs this week. And I encourage you to put your personal email on those recs as opposed to your office account email in case, it takes a couple days and then your rec comes back with a problem and then you have to go back and forth and blah, blah, blah. A reminder that you need to turn over or at least give access to your new person. You give your new person access to your social media accounts by Friday. Your last day in your office is Monday, the 26th. Please don't leave them trashed. Please be very kind to the people that are coming after you. Please clean up after yourself. Please take your belongings. And your access will be turned off. Like I said, your official emails need to be transferred over to, or at least given access to, the new person needs access to by the 30th. So that's not this coming Friday, but the Friday after. Starting on the 22nd, which is Friday, you can come by to grab your senior send-off gift from ASUCLA if you're graduating, as you are an ASUCLA student. Please be sure to submit any carryover recs. Honorarium ones I have due for the end of this week. Again, especially because there's going to be a good amount of those. You want to get those in so your people can get paid. And if you have department recs still not submitted, those are overdue, especially if you have not talked to Lorelai and I about it yet. We have had in past years, this year included, where departments come back to us and say, we never got that money that was promised to us. And it's really annoying, candidly, and I don't want to do it next year. So please submit your recs. And if you submitted your transition document, and if you have given us all of your social media info so that we're the recovery phone, please stop by the office at any time to grab your cord. If you need to stop in to do your social media stuff and also grab your cord, that is fine. But you know where we're at, and we would love to celebrate you. And I believe that's all I have. Thank you all for a wonderful year. Thank you for putting up with my call outs and all of my follow-up emails. It has been an honor and a pleasure. Please stay in touch, whether you're graduating or you're doing something else on campus. You are always welcome to stop by my office, truly walk in and like you own the place anytime you like. And if you need anything, references, letters of rec, whatever, don't hesitate to let me know too. Thank you.
We're not going to move into the resolution reports. I actually don't know who's giving reports, or if I think we have like over 20 reports probably to give today. So we'll just do, if anyone has a report they want to give, raise your hand now, and we'll do that now. Mona?
I guess my update is I sent an email with the resolution we passed about the ASU-CLA policy. Let me pull up the file. Loki, my laptop was about to die and it's back to it. Yes, thank you. Okay, the resolution in particular was a resolution calling upon the Associated Students of UCLA to stop all cooperation with local, state, municipal, and federal law enforcement agencies. And I recently sent an email with the resolution over to ASU-CLA Board of Directors, and I've been in touch informally with one of the reps on BOD about it, and I'm working on more formal communication to see how far we can get that in terms of updating ASU-CLA policy.
Any other updates?
For two resolutions that we passed with DSU, SWC, IVP on Bruin Access funding and in reformed audits on CAE and campus accessibility, we've been trying to set up a meeting with Vice Chancellors Beck and Gordon to talk about those issues and advocate for more funding.
Have you?
Hi, hello. Giving an update on the Burnfest resolution. We were able to successfully send a large delegation of students from different basic needs organizations to the May Regents meeting in San Francisco. Thank you to incoming EPP Sherry for helping lead that delegation group. And through that advocacy, they were able to schedule a meeting with Regent Chair Janet Riley for June 5th to discuss more of the funding aspect and system-wide support for the Burnfest initiative. Let's see. We're also able to schedule meetings with our student region, Sonia, to discuss more of the support from the student region end on how we can expand basic needs access to impacted populations, and also meeting with financial aid and UCLA Dining and Lupton Grad Student Association. Why are you sending me these updates so late? But yes, all the above.
Thank you. Any other updates on resolutions passed? Seeing none, we're going to move with officer reports, starting with ISR. Tamim.
Hello, hi. Before I give my spiel and a speech, since it's the last day, I just want to highlight one program. This is the last program that the Office of ISR will be hosting. That is the International Student Prom. I request every single person here in this room to be there. It's not only for international students, it's a celebration of international culture. So please be there. There's going to be food, there's going to be refreshments, and yeah, spread the word. Now I'm going to go into my slightly long, but definitely worth it speech. At the last day as your international student representative this year, I just wanted to say how incredibly grateful I am. This year has meant the world to me. When I stepped into the role, I hoped we could make international students feel more seen, more supported, and more at home. 1 year later, I can proudly say that every single platform promises was fulfilled. Project Vikas is complete. We launched the International Student Support Fund, delivering over $60,000 in emergency aid to international students in need. Started the International Student Wellness Committee for Mental Health, brought global bites into the dining halls, welcomed exchange students through Bruin Buddies, handed out SIM cards at orientation, became a beacon of hope during times of crisis, and fought alongside the international community when their very essence was under attack. It's been a beautiful, wild, and fulfilling ride. But honestly, what I'll remember most through this journey is the people. To every council member here, thank you for showing up, for believing in your communities, and for inspiring me every single week. To Jonathan, Lorelai, Laurie, Jessica, the entire SGS and SGA team, thank you for answering my never-ending Slack messages and helping make the little things happen behind the scene. To Kendall for painstakingly taking all the meeting notes and making it accessible to the student body. To Mona for being awesome and having a great shared space. Thanks a lot for all the decorations. It really made our office super homely. And to the heartbeat of the Office of ISR, my team, which includes Asmi, Shimona, Paige, Caitlin, Rhea, Lana, Hiram, Maria, Nirvan, Andrea, Vandita, Evla, Joy. You all made this office what it is. You turned every dream into action. You gave your all for this mission. And I'm so proud to have worked alongside each and every one of you. To the students who shared their stories with us, who trusted us with their worries and their wins, thank you. You're the reason this office exists. You're the reason it has a heart. This wasn't just a role for me, it was home. And I'm walking away with so much love and hope for what comes next. I wish the next year's council all the very, very best. You all got this. You should be proud of yourselves. There are going to be times where your leadership is going to be put to the test. And in those times, remember why you ran in the first place and rely on each other to collectively advocate for the 35,000 plus undergraduate students who you will be representing. Thank you for letting me be a part of all of this. Signing off, your international student representative, Sayyid Nameem Ahmed.
Next, we have Mona.
Normally we go in the other way and I have a lot more time to prepare these. So yay, last officer report. I'd like to start off by saying I have the best successor ever. Sorry to everyone else, but other people also agree with this. So it is like therefore a true fact. I'm going to be like a little bit sentimental. And like I had some things written out, but then like I didn't finish it because, like I said, I normally go second to last and I have a lot more time. So if this is too long or too short, I'm very sorry. But yeah, I started off my term with outreach for incoming transfers to get into USAC and get more involved. And I'm ending my term with the exact same thing. USAC and the initiatives we carry out can genuinely be the catalyst in a student's life. And it's so, so important that we ensure that USAC is representative of our student body because of all the like things we said earlier in the presentation, like me and Hiram, like fill in the blanks. 1 to 2 transfer students out of 15 of us on council is less than 20% transfers on council. And that is very much not representative because as we just talked about, there's 24.3% or 24.3% of our students are transfers. It starts in each of our offices. And my time is coming to an end, but for those of us who are continuing or incoming, you must make sure that you do everything possible to make your applications as open and inclusive to transfers as possible. Hiram and I are doing our part in outreach. Oh wait, sorry, I like reread something. I've done what I can to the best of my ability to set us up for success in that regard. From USAC 101 to like, oh my God, low-key, you guys, like we reached almost 70 people with our registration form for that, with an attendance of like 15 to over 20 students at each one. I feel like I've maintained a stance throughout my time here that if the work I accomplish touches and impacts even one person's experience, then it was worth it. Though, of course, I always hope to reach more than that. So it's been really touching to see that workshop carried out successfully for the first time this year. And hopefully that means that those students who were there have even more knowledge of all of our offices, especially our commissions, and you'll see their applications in your like forms for that soon. Anyway, when I was writing this, I also kind of forgot you need to do the highlight reel and not just be sentimental. And again, I thought I'd be at the end. But from transfer transitions at the very beginning of the year to our football game ticket giveaway to the collabs I've done with some of our lovely commissions to bringing back the Transfer Leadership Coalition, which took a lot more time and work than I expected, to the various mixers and workshops in between, Student Advocacy Day, our advocacy open house, and everything else in between. I would keep going, but I don't think anyone wants to just hear a list. But I've really been, it's been such an honor serving as this year's transfer student representative. And I'm so excited to see the work that Hiram will take. Oh my God. I'm so excited to see Hiram take on this role and take the work done this year and the years before to the next level. And then on top of all that, I think it's important for me to acknowledge my identity beyond a transfer student in these spaces. I'm a visibly Muslim woman. As a hijabi, I remember campaigning last year as the only one. There is no space where I exist without that identity impacting how I'm perceived. And what that means in various spaces. Here in USAC, that means from the various Islamophobic hate crimes we've seen this year to the generalized increased militarized police presence that has strong negative impacts on our various communities. At Transfer Bruin Day, to give like a small example, when I spoke to the incoming transfer class, I told students and their families that I'd love to talk to them afterwards if they saw me around throughout the day. I will never forget how someone's mother hugged me. She was also wearing the hijab. And in that moment, like I could feel like how like my identity, even though in my speech I didn't talk about my experience as a hijabi student here at UCLA, how even being there and my presence there was an impact on her experience of Transfer Bruin Day and for her family. While I no doubt believe in most, if not all, of the incoming council's ability to advocate for student issues and stand in solidarity with our communities, representation matters and makes such an impact. I'm not a stranger to being the only hijabi in spaces throughout my life. From running alone as a hijabi last year to seeing 3 hijabis run this year, I feel like I can tangibly see the impacts of representation within the last 2 years alone. So for incoming and continuing council members, I urge all of you to make USAC an open, welcoming, and inclusive environment for our Muslim students to join and serve as advocates and leaders in your offices. I'm sure I would have written more if I had more time throughout officer reports, but I'm going to miss USAC. The work we've done has led me to so many incredible people, and I'll never forget my time in this space. but not in a high school peaking way, like trust. That's all I really had written. So thanks.
Kiara.
Very hard to top the two people that have gone already. Oh, wow. SWC has been biggest part of like the last 4 years for me being here. When I came here, the first thing I joined in like the 90-degree weather that was EAF was Active Minds, our mental health committee. I came here wanting to join a mental health club, having done like suicide prevention programming in high school. And that was something that was so important to me coming from the pandemic and talking with students and my teachers about students feeling alone, how we felt alone, and how even we didn't need to be behind screens for students to feel alone. People could feel alone when they were in person. And so when I came here looking for a club and I found Active Minds, it was that supportive community that made me feel so grounded and feel so connected to the people here. Little did I know that that was part of a whole commission, that was part of a whole student government here. And that space just made me so connected. And so when I grew through that, I found such a community with the people that made me grow my love for public health more, and finding all the intersections of student wellness and things that impact our mental health, our physical health, that make us feel safe to be on campus. And that's impacted in so many different ways, as we've seen this year and the past several years. And so I've learned so much from the people from day one when I joined SWC and to this day. And that's really would not have gotten here to USAC without all of those people the last several years in the commission. And so with that, I also want to go into the rest of it, but want to highlight so much of the work that our team has done throughout the year, because they've been such a core part of my experience. And one thing that has brought me joy every week and made me inspired is seeing all the work that they do, and all of our committees, from Brew Necessities to Sexperts to Planned Parenthood to Active Minds to Total Wellness, CPR, and all of the rest that they're excited about their programming that they're doing. And so I just, really quickly want to highlight, we continued our large scale campus programming throughout the year, holding our Health Coming Festival, reaching over 500 students that are connected with campus health services and basic needs programs that are also student led, holding a community and health conference in the winter. And I just remember sitting at a table and talking with people from our community as part of the commission and others, and having just that safe space and people being able to share and people relating about their experiences and what has challenged their well-being recently. And those spaces just made everything else on campus feel so grounded in that space when you're connected to other people, and those type of events, which just has always made me feel so connected to our commission. Holding our accessibility town hall with the Disabled Student Union in winter as well. In spring, our Bruin Run Walk Committee holding their 5K, holding our Bruin Health Week with all of the different committees holding their events and all the hard work that went into that. We held a reproductive health panel yesterday collaborating with Heart, and we're holding a wellness week with the Academic Affairs Commission coming up soon. Collaborating with so many different USAC offices this year, as well as our peer support lounge growing. Shout out to our coordinator who added so many resources to it. I loved collaborating with Mona and Tamim and Josh. We're expanding our Know Your Rights cards and putting those in the offices, wanting to connect our space with even more students and holding programs with our offices, wanting to bring more students in there and have that be a safe space. Collaborating with Diego on the Undocumented Student Health Fair in fall, wanting to bring our committees and all these different other organizations together. And I think that's something that has been continuously instilled in me, just the importance of collaboration. I think at the root of everything we've done, and something I'm so grateful for on council, and one of the ways I've grown the most, is collaborating with you all and all of the groups on campus to make progress on campus. With Heart, we also collaborated on distributing 300 tote bags that included fentanyl test strips, Narcan, safe sex supplies, and others, to ensure that those resources are also distributed across campus. Transitioning our diverse SWC team to the executive board this year. This year, we fostered growth in our connections between our committees and various cultural and identity-based campus orgs to ensure that those our varying perspectives across our multitude of populations on campus are instilled in our events and built in those communities. And then also working with IVP and CSC on Good Clothes, Good People, and working with their amazing organization, seeing their growth and seeing the referendum pass was so incredible, and seeing the work that they do and everything grow. And I'm so excited to see that grow in the future. working with FSC, FAC, TSR on the Burn Commuter Scholarship. Like shout out to all the work that you guys did, seeing the growth in new programming this year as well. Also working with FAC, IVP, and the Disabled Student Union on the Equity Coalition, forming that this year. And as Joe was talking about the resolutions, seeing where the collaboration began and how far it can go with resolutions and bringing it further has been so inspiring. Currently, our platforms team is working on our distribution of our UC ship pamphlets. One of the programming that was created by our commission last year that we're continuing the distribution of to instill continue the health literacy of our programs, of our services on campus in our different spaces. Also, yeah, with the Know Your Rights cards, expanding those in our office and across, working with Josh on the Burn Relief Initiative amidst the LA wildfires, like that collaborate, having one another and collaborating through all of those was very meaningful as well. And just want to shout out our internship program that created more resources and conducted their own research, as well as all of our committees. And they have so many of their own projects and workshops that they did across that could talk about forever. But just seeing the work throughout this year has continuously reminded me how much this commission has meant to me and just been really instilled in me, like my want to continue of ensuring the importance of making sure those around you are not alone. And that's in every space that we're in. And it's so weird to be leaving now after spending so much time, whether it's in Active Minds and SWC and everything. But I know that all of the people from then got me here to counsel with you all. And I've truly grown, I think, as a person, just learning and seeing it, being inspired by the work that you all have done. And I am so excited to pass it off to Hannah, who has been our chief of staff this year and been incredible and someone that I admire so much. And I know she's going to do incredible things with it. And yes, so I'm so excited to see where it goes. I've loved being on council with you all. I've always inspired every week by what you do. And yes, I think grown so much and been inspired by you all. So I'm so honored to have served on council this year. I've been inspired by my commission, by you all, and I'm excited to see where we move in the future as wellness and our well-being, our health is such a foundation to everything we do. So I've loved being a part of this commission and working with you all.
Nico.
Well, on a happier note, hello everyone. Mine's gonna be short because in case you didn't know, I'll be here again next year. So thank you. I'll save my one long one a year from now and save you all the time. But just like a quick little recap, I joined FSC my first year at UCLA, literally like week one, as a young, bright-eyed, fresh out of ASB individual looking for a sense of community at UCLA. And during these applications, I was actually rejected for my first choice commission, CEC, but it's okay, it's okay. Because FSC took me without even an interview, and that's truly where I belong. So it all worked out. Exactly. I started off though as a director of educational programs, moved to chief of staff, and now sit as the commissioner, which was the journey of a lifetime. This commission has introduced me to so many wonderful people who I'm able to call my friends, both within FSC and within this current council. I'm so grateful for this opportunity and all I've been able to accomplish as FSC because of my dedicated team. And along with all of you guys, I collabed with like so many people here. Such a beautiful year. We've been able to achieve so much and I look forward to all we can achieve next year. To the new council in this room, I also look forward to working with you and getting to know you over our USAC retreat. But no offense to you all, you can never replace this council. They will always be my favorite. So don't worry, guys, don't worry. But for all of you on council, I wish you all the best in your coming years. Next year, I'll see some of you again. But for those graduating and moving on to other things, truly good luck. I'll connect with you on LinkedIn. And I really hope we can stay connected. And if you ever want to come back and visit the FSC office, we painted it lavender. It's cute in there now. Finally cleaned the spiders. So it's a new year for us. I know we're moving up in the world. But yeah, like truly, I hope to stay in touch with all of you, but you'll know where I'll be right here for another year. So I'll save the long one for next year. Thank you all.
Joy.
Hello. I prepared a very standard officer report. I didn't know we were, but I can give a very brief thing too. I've also been reelected for next year, so I'll save my long one for next year. Um, but yes, thank you. I can give a brief rundown too. I started off in fact in my freshman year 3 years ago with my interest in sustainability and wasn't ever anticipating being on council, but was very much motivated to further basic needs, especially in regards to accessibility. So thank you for appointing me and trusting me back in February to continue with this work. And I just want to give a huge shout out to my staff, the offices like IVP and SWC that I collaborate with, and the communities like the Disabled Student Union that we collaborate with to continue. And I feel so empowered by everybody to continue in this work, especially as it relates to ensuring accessibility on our campus. So with that, thank you again, and I will just give a quick recap of what my office has done. Yeah, again, I'm very empowered by my office, my staffers and my directors. I would be nothing without them. In fact, would be nothing without them. So there's a few in the audience right here. But yes, I can give a few quick overview. We passed the UPass renewal resolution with 28.2% voter turnout. 96.9% of UPass voters voted yes, and fare free transit is extended through 2030. So thank you to everyone for your support, and thank you to my staff for hosting such a successful campaign. And in this past week of voting, along with flyering and online campaigning, our staffers gave 37 class announcements, 31 of which were given in the week of voting to encourage students to vote. And this has reached 5,297 students in lectures. AOB right now is sending out a survey about study spaces on the Hill to improve its accessibility, availability, and comfort. And more information about that can be found on our Instagram. In terms of sustainability, Sustainagoals is planning their Sustainable Brew and Move Out program for students to donate their unneeded belongings to other students during UCLA Housing Move Out. The on-campus event will be on June 11th and the off-campus event will be on June 12th. And then I'll give a rundown of our other notable highlights. So our Transportation Equity Access, or T Committee, sent a letter to the VA to urge them to reopen Constitution Ave to bicycles and pedestrians to better connect Brentwood and Westwood and avoid dangerous road conditions on Wilshire Boulevard. Our Accessibility on Board, or AOB Commission, hosted a sensory sanctuary event with autism advocacy at UCLA. And is continuing their project on adding data of accessible restrooms to their interactive campus maps. And then our Sustainagoals Committee hosted 2 clothing swaps to promote a circular economy and educate students about other projects within FAC, and held 6 events to promote the Reuse Reusable Mug program at Kirchhoff. And our EJ Now committee worked on a community garden survey with the LA Community Garden Council to gather environmental justice metrics for 47 community gardens across LA and mapping them using GIS. And then along with DSU, IVP, and SWC, we created an equity coalition to advocate for campus accessibility issues. And notably, we unanimously passed 2 resolutions to advocate for increased Bruin Access funding and reformed audits of CAE and campus accessibility. And we've also worked with FSC, TSR, and SWC on a commuter scholarship fund to alleviate parking permit costs for commuter students. And with that is all of FAC's notable highlights. Thank you so much for an amazing year, and I can't wait to work with the new council next year.
Sheridan.
Oh, what is my next? Okay. Hey everyone, I'm gonna talk today a little bit. So before I get into all of that sappy stuff, want to plug one last event coming up. It's actually this Friday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's Service Impact Summit, which is one of our biggest events of the year. This is where we celebrate all of the service work from students across campus, and we'll also be recognizing students that won the Robert S. Michaels Award. Shout out Jonathan for helping grade, and also pull up to that, and Pamela for helping grade but not pull up. Well, maybe pull up to that. I don't know. I don't know if she's pulling up, but yes, there's going to be free lunch, refreshments, prizes, fun activities, workshops, all of that. So please come. And it's also right before the International Student Prom. So you can start off your day at Service Impact Summit and then go home, change, and then go to the International Student Prom. That might be what my Friday looks like. So yes, and you can RCP. I have it on my office report, but I'll send it in the USAC chat as well. And then also CSC is hiring for next year. I know we just got the whole spiel from Mona about not doing it early, but send people your way, like our way. All of the amazing people that y'all know, please, please send them our way. You really get to meet the best people and engage in really meaningful community service here on campus. And that kind of takes me to my CSC journey. I started out in CSC my second year. And when I started, I never thought I'd be here. Never thought I'd be, well, even like last year, I never thought I'd be right here with all of you on council. I don't think I even knew what USAC was really. But what happened was, I don't know, I just got involved. I started learning. And then people started asking me questions and I started learning more. And I heard USAC come up and I heard SGA come up and I heard like all these different like terms come up. And then I wanted to get more involved and I joined a programming team in CSC where we're working on creating our large scale programs. And I got to really collaborate with a bunch of service student organizations on campus, make those connections, see how passionate they are. And that really brought me here. So I'm very happy that I'm here, even though I never expected to be here 4 years ago, even 3 years ago, even 2 or 1 year ago. So I'm really glad that I'm here with all of you. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into my yearly recap. I'm gonna keep it a little bit shorter, but if you wanna see the whole thing, you can always go on the office report. I don't think anyone will, but if you want, sure. So shout out to my amazing CSC staff. None of this would happen without my staff. Love every single person in my staff. It's such an amazing community, and it's really become home for me in the past 3 years. And it's the people that I feel like I'm just the most connected to because they are so passionate about service and they are so kind-hearted. So this year we accomplished a lot. We had our coalitions that we started last year, but we really nurtured and grew these. These are the Student Coalition for Basic Needs and the Youth Empowerment Coalition. This Monday we hosted our second annual Basic Needs Fair, which was a huge hit. Shout out to everyone in the coalition, including EVP. I know Sherry was really involved in the planning process as well, and all of our other organizations like Westwood Food Co-op, as well as Swipe Out Hunger and much more. And then in terms of our projects, as you all know, CSC has 32 student organizations that are under us that we work with, and their community service groups that do their own service and are just so amazing. But this year, our project liaison team was stronger than ever, and we supported all of our amazing projects. And a large part of my time here on USAC was helping secure one of our project GCGP's home in SAC, and also pass a referendum amendment to expand the scope of the basic needs they can offer. So I'm super excited about that, and I really want to also thank SWC and IVP for all of your support with that, as well as everyone else who's been supportive and just in the loop on all of this. And then in terms of our events, we created so many amazing events, 13 events this year, to name a few: Volunteer Day, Advocacy Fest, Nonprofit Networking Night, Bruin Relief Initiative with other council members, and especially collaborating with Adam and GSA as well. Project Bruin, Volunteer Appreciation Week, and Service Impact Summit coming up. So yes, we did a lot of amazing events that reached hundreds of UCLA students, which is really exciting. We expanded our supplemental fund for service this year too, making sure that as much of our CSC budget goes back to students as possible. We increased it by over 36% since last year, and we continued and expanded CS Transpo allocations, even with our delayed carryover, to support volunteer organizations' transportation needs. And of course, shout out to our transpo directors for managing our well-loved fleet of CSC vans as well. In terms of new initiatives, we did the Bruin Relief Initiative, as I talked about during the LA wildfires, as well as we're creating a comprehensive service website where students are able to get access to all of the amazing opportunities on campus. There's not really a centralized place for all of that. And that's going to be launching in fall of next year. And we also provided funding and support to many campus entities like the Center for Community Engagement, the RISE Center, and ECRT in collaboration with ISR. So very excited about that. Okay, now for the sad part, or not the sad part, but the emotional part. Wow, I cannot believe it's our last meeting together as council. I'm so honored to have grown and learned alongside all of you, and it's just been very inspirational to see everyone bring their passions and their strengths here to the table and bring them to life to the campus community. So remember that first USAC meeting. I remember I was so clueless. I was so nervous. I still sometimes am nervous to speak here, but I remember being so nervous and like so confused. And I remember going to Fat Sal's with everyone being like, whoa, like this is kind of crazy. But it's so crazy that now we're here and we've grown so much and we've changed and we've done this all together. So thank you all for being so kind, open-minded, patient, collaborative, inspirational. I wouldn't have wanted to spend my Tuesdays any other way. Well, but like since we had to be here, I wouldn't have wanted to spend it with any other people. Y'all are the best council. And this was truly one of the most memorable and transformative experiences of my time at UCLA. And I'm very honored that you all were part of that journey. And also thank you to the admin reps. Y'all are the best. You guys are amazing. Thanks for letting me bother you. And finally, for the new council, congratulations. I'm very excited to introduce Edison as our next community service commissioner. Edison is much more qualified than I ever was for this. So he's going to be amazing and take CSC to the new, much better heights, but he's an amazing person. So new council, take good care of him, be friends with him. He's awesome. And I'm so excited to see where CSC goes. You are so capable and such a passionate person. So I'm very excited to see what happens. But yeah, that's it for me. Signing off now. Thank you.
Robbie.
Hey. Like Carolyn, I do have stuff to plug before I get into my truth. We have Short Takes, our student film festival, next Friday, the 30th in James Bridges Theater. It's going to be awesome. We had over 500 students from across the world. I was going to say the country, but no, we had a couple random people from wherever submit. So it's going to be great. Come out, watch student films. Yeah, super fun. And then we also have Ultra Bloom, which is on June 5th. Can't say much more about that, but June 5th, put it in your GCal. You guys should be open probably. Yeah, okay, now I'll get to my truth. I can tell people are sick of me already. Just kidding. Well, look where we are. We made it. That's crazy. Similar to what everyone else was saying, I feel like it was literally just yesterday when I was sitting, actually, fun fact, in this exact same seat next to the old CEC commissioner. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? Like, what are all these people saying? But this has been such a rewarding year, and being able to broaden my student government involvement beyond just CEC has been so wonderful and such a meaningful experience, and doing it alongside all of you who are just such brilliant, kind, and passionate people. It's been amazing. CEC has Ruh-roh, I'm tearing up. CEC has been the highlight of my college experience. I joined fall of my freshman year. I applied to 5 out of our 8 staffs and got into 2 of them. Woo! Go freshman Robbie. But I always knew I wanted to be involved with USAC, and I just thought that aligned most with my interest and what CEC can do here on campus. And, you know, being in it now for 4 years, it has been life-changing. What we do, what we bring to this campus is joy and happiness and community. And we just provide spaces for discourse or entertainment or laughter or sadness or anything. And I think it's an important thing to have, especially at UCLA, especially in the version of UCLA that we're currently worked in, ruh-roh. But I'm so grateful for this organization, and it has transformed me. It has changed who I am and made me a more confident and more, I don't know, guys, I'm running out of words. So I'll just go to the highlights from this year. We've had so many events this year that have just been amazing and have sold out, which is also so exciting. I mean, we had concerts with Umi, with Orion's Son, with Dochi, shout out CAC. We had advanced screenings of Gladiator 2, Wicked, Oscar-winning movie Anora, Mickey 17. And then speakers, we had Leah Katab, Dukes, basically unfiltered. This year has been the best year in CEC, and just the events that we've done and the team that I've been able to work with has been so amazing and so wonderful. And speaking of team, I'm so excited that I'll be passing over the reins to Daniel. I can't think of anyone else that is more capable and more passionate to take on this role and lead not only CEC but CEC's role at the USAC table into the future. So I'm really looking forward to that. And for all of the other new council members that I don't know, run while you still can. No, I'm kidding. Guys, feel free to laugh. Anyway, I'm the annoying one for the new people here. But no, it's such a rewarding experience. And like Tamim said, it's going to challenge you. And there's going to be times when you doubt what you're doing, what your team is doing, what's going on. And that's part of the process. It's okay to feel confused. You guys are going to kill it. I'm really excited for y'all. I'm all over the place. I did not prepare this well. I'm sorry. Last thing, well, one of the last things, sorry. Shout out the admin, Jonathan, Lorelai, Lori, y'all have answered way too many calls from me, and I apologize for keeping you on the phone, but thank you. This has been quite the journey, and I appreciate your help along the way. Last thing, and then I'll shut up. I wanted to share the most meaningful moment I've had in CEC over the past 4 years, and the moment that has stuck out the most to me. We were at Bruin Bash. Twee was performing. She was opening up, and she started covering "Snooze" by SZA. And every phone light in there went up and started waving. People just doing their thing, but after working for so long over the summer and going through so much chaos and all kinds of hiccups left and right, it just showed what this was all about. And seeing the happiness and the excitement on people's faces as those stupid phones are going back and forth. It wasn't even Twee's song, it was a SZA song, but still it just was so meaningful. And so I encourage all the current council members and the new ones to think about that moment from their commission. What was that moment that you're going to remember forever and tell your kids about when they're making fun of you for being old and college was way back when? But that's all for me. I'll stop yapping. Robbie Hall, Campus Events Commissioner, signing off.
Ms. Pino.
So quite candidly, I also had a pretty standard report. And the primary reason behind that is because, for transparency reasons, I was watching Big do my girl Carrie Bradshaw dirty again while watching Sex in the City last night. And so I couldn't stop yelling at the television. So I'm sorry for not preparing a more, it does happen. So, but I was thinking a little bit about those graduating and those who are departing us. So to those who are graduating and departing us physically, may fortune walk beside you. I believe with all I am that you will shape the world in ways that are unique to you all. And to those who are newly elected and joining us up at the dais, and to the others who remain on USAC, welcome. Welcome to your new home. I'm very excited to collaborate with you all. And I'll leave it at that because I do want to watch the next episode of Sex in the City. All right.
Ramsey.
Everyone. So let's see. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate next year's USAC on their election. So yeah, good job, everyone. Yeah, I'd especially like to congratulate two people in particular. So firstly, Brett, I know we haven't met yet, but yeah, congrats. Really excited to see you be Gen Rep 3. I think you're gonna do a great job next year. And also Harem, she was Executive Advocacy Director in my office this year. And she has done like just so much work on so many different platforms. So I think she's done a really good job. And yeah, next year you're gonna do great as TSR. So good job. Yeah, so let's see. I joined USAC last year, Campus Programs Committee. I went on there. We had funding and we allocated to different educational and cultural programs on campus. And that was my only experience with USAC beforehand. So I met with Megan, who's IVP last year, and we had like this talk. And I was kind of saying like, I think USAC sounds really interesting. I think council sounds interesting. Also, I don't know anything about what any of this is, but I'm curious to learn. And so it was really actually through that meeting that I learned about what the positions are, and I decided to run for Gen Rep. And yeah, I mean, this year, there was, there's a lot of great things that happened. I think, there was difficult aspects of it too. On council, there's difficult personal aspects too that I didn't really talk about. But at the same time, I remember the fact that UCLA student body elected me, with a purpose, with the idea in mind that they really did like what I was saying, what I wanted to create in that position. And so I really, throughout the whole year, I always just kind of remembered that and remember that, this is something that is my duty, it's my obligation, it's something that I really want to do, is to really try to accomplish these platforms and to really make good on my promises. So speaking of which, I'm really excited to announce that we have made significant contributions to the UCLA community in all 5 of the original campaign platforms that I campaigned on. So on affordability, we worked with financial aid and scholarships to restructure the scholarships general application to make it more accessible to students. So this is something they talked about, or I know they had a presentation with us. Right now, only 16% of students do the general application for UCLA scholarships. So 84% of UCLA students are not considered for like your regular general application scholarships. And there's a lot more scholarships that are more in depth that like basically no one's considered for, like less than 10%. So a lot of it's just because the portal, it's not that accessible. A lot of students just don't know about it or don't really know how to apply. So yeah, we worked with them to like basically revamp the entire portal, to revamp the marketing. And we also started the process of adding the general scholarship application to new student orientation. So now new students who are coming in during your orientation, you're just gonna do the application just during your orientation. It's just automatic. And so now basically, or like within a couple of years, virtually all UCLA students are gonna be considered for the over 2,000 UCLA general application scholarships. On summer storage, we created the first UCLA summer storage guide for students who are far from home, to be published on the UCLA Housing, USAC, and ACUSLA websites. So this is something that there wasn't really that much support for students, before, but now there is. I'm really happy about that. And we're also, we worked with UCLA Housing to begin the vetting process for nearly a dozen nearby facilities to negotiate for better pricing for students. On career support, we held 3 career panels in pre-law, pre-med, and business, where students learned from and networked with industry professionals. On USAC accessibility, we researched and revised committee descriptions to better explain committee positions. I know we had people who were coming in at the beginning of this year who they were applying for positions, they were interviewing, and they were new students at UCLA, didn't have experience in USAC, and just did not know what the position was and didn't really know what to say during the interview, didn't really know what they were applying for. So yeah, hopefully these revisions will help a lot. So next year's applicants will be better informed and be more prepared for positions they want to enter to. And I think that's work that I'm sure people will continue next year. In meal access, through our year of advocacy, UCLA Dining and Housing agreed to a number of systemic changes to better support meal access on campus, which includes creating a year-long meal swipe donation form for Swipe Out Hunger to open in the summer and stay open through the entire school year. So yeah, before this, it was just every quarter you have like a 1 week or 2 week span where you can fill out the form. It's a different form every single quarter. Really, really hard for people to fill out, really hard to market. And so yeah, we had a lot of talks, but we were able to get them to agree to have a year-long form. We also partnered with Swipe Out Hunger, they agreed to partner with Swipe Out Hunger and USAC to expand hill tabling and advertising during Week Zero. And they committed to financial transparency on UCLA dining budget and pricing, and meeting with members of USAC in the future to make sure that information is reported to the student body on what the pricing and budget of UCLA dining looks like. So I think students deserve to know why their meals are being priced at a certain way, why they're paying this much, what those expenses are, and now people will know. And we created the first Swipes for Search Drive, which we expect to raise an additional 13,000 swipes for UCLA students facing food insecurity this year. If continuing to expand in future years, which I hope to do by partnering with future USAC offices, Swap at Hunger and SAPA, we expect it to increase swap donations by hundreds of thousands for food insecure students. In digital programs, we had Broom Buddies. So in collaboration with the ISR office, we managed and expanded the mentorship program for new international exchange students, and we held nearly a dozen programs to help those new students feel welcome and get support in an environment. And in collaboration with the IVP office, we hosted the LA Dodgers and Angels game days with hundreds of UCLA students in attendance, which I think were really great too. So yeah, a lot of successes this year. If I can have any advice for next year's council, I'd say definitely get started with your projects early, because it can take months to schedule meetings with administration. You'll have like 10 different stakeholders, and every single one of them needs to be there and like sign off on something. And sometimes administration maybe doesn't even want to like meet and discuss a platform. So yeah, definitely get started with that early. Get started with hiring early, but also make sure to keep open spots for transfer students. That's important too. Yeah, and other than that, just make sure to always keep an open mind. Try your best to work with other people. Yeah, just remember, why you're doing this, and I think all of you will do a great job next year. And before I finish this, I also just want to give a thank you to everyone on council this year, to our administrative support staff, and I know like Jonathan, Lorelai, I've probably averaged like a meeting a week with you guys over the last quarter. So yeah, thank you for all your help. And of course, my office, everyone in the team, you guys have just done such a great job this year. And so yeah, really excited or really happy to have worked with you guys. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what you do in the future. So Ramsey out.
Hello. Ooh, okay. So hey everyone. So yeah, as I sit here tonight as the last time as General Representative 2, I'm filled with an immense sense of gratitude. I joined USAC my freshman year as an intern for the Academic Affairs Commission, which at that time I didn't know that AAC was a part of USAC or what USAC was. I was just in the Academic Affairs Commission. Then I became a senator, and then I was elected as Gen Rep 2. When I first stepped into this position, I didn't have all the answers, but I had a commitment to fight for the communities who are too often sidelined. From standing against unjust policies to authoring and passing the Resources First referendum, which will continue to generate over $400,000 annually in basic needs resources for our campus, our office was a living testament to the fact that student power is real and it's resilient. To every student who came to our office with a concern, an idea, or a vision, you made this work matter. To my team, thank you for being the heart behind every project, resolution, and program. To our advisors and staff, thank you for answering our never-ending questions, for being patient with me when blowing up your email for this referendum, and for helping transform our ideas into action. And to my fellow council members, thank you for pushing me to be braver, wiser, and more compassionate. Watching each of you lead with conviction, with love for your communities, and with unapologetic authenticity has been nothing short of inspiring. You remind me that governance can be joyful, that disagreements can be rooted in care, and that change is possible when we move together. I like you all a lot, but more than that, I respect you deeply. To Jaya, I am so proud of you, and I am so proud that you are going to be taking on this role as General Representative 2. So Jaya was actually the one director who emailed me during the summer and was like, can we meet before the school year starts? So at the beginning of September, I had a meeting with Jaya right out here on like the ASUCLA like little patio area, and we talked about what the GR2 office was going to do this year, what she was curious about. And throughout this year, I've always joked that she's been my USAC daughter. So I think it's only fitting that the GR2 next year is going to be you. And I'm so excited to see what you're going to do next year. So though my term as Gen Rep 2 is coming to an end, my service to this council and the student body will not be. I'm proud to say that I'll be continuing this work as your next internal vice president. So yeah. Though the position is different, the mission remains the same: to build a more just, transparent, and accountable UCLA, one that students can trust and transform. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let's keep organizing, keep pushing, and never forget who we fight for.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be so free. I don't know where to start. But first off, I want to say thank you to this council for your leadership, for your advocacy, for I know like how many nights you stayed up during the wildfires, the Bruin Relief Initiative, constant conversations with you all talking about the administrative side of your work. But thank you so much. I have like Loki lined up. But first off, thank you, Josh and Mona, for the very long ARC summer. It was an honor to be doing those interviews with you and appointing students to these crucial committees that allow them to advocate for their communities. To Kiara, thank you so much for your support in the undocumented student health fair. And I cannot wait to continue this with Hannah and other initiatives in the year to come. To Javier, thank you so much for being an incredible external vice president and ensuring that student advocacy not only reaches the regions, the OP, but at the state and national level. So thank you so much for that. And I will always forever our little chisme conversations. To Chris, both Ramsey and Espino, Robbie, Nico, Carolyn, Alex, and Aljoy, we weren't able to directly work but your passion for your commission in office is astonishing, and congratulations to those graduating and those coming back. I'm looking forward to continue working with you. And to Tamim, thank you so much for your leadership during times of crisis where international students were afraid and were unwilling to speak. And thank you so much for your leadership. It's been an honor to know you and to have you as a friend. And I'm super excited to work with you this upcoming year. Especially with your International Student Coalition and advocating for international students here at the UCLA, at the UC level, or at any other level. So thank you so much. I think that's been everyone. Adam, for your leadership on this council. I'm looking forward to transitioning into this office. I know both of our offices are a mess, so it's gonna be fun. To the next Gen Reps, thank you, and I hope you continue these advocacies and you enjoy these late nights Tuesdays. So be excited for that. And so yeah, and to Tommy, thank you so much for your advocacy and for your work and for continuing to push me into spaces that make me uncomfortable, but allow me to like grow and become a better person. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you administration for your support. And I'm so sorry, I like sometimes ignore those emails, but I'm pretty sure 100% that we're gonna be obviously working together closer this upcoming year. And I will be bugging your Slack over the summer, so be prepared for that, please. And to the rest and to this new incoming council, thank you so much for being excited to lead. As you may see, Tuesday nights sometimes are very long and tiring, but the work is definitely worth it. So please give a round of applause for yourselves for willing to step up, whether you're graduating or you're staying. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I'm looking forward to the year to come.
Have you?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm also gonna try to keep it very short because I gave a lot of my good graces to my office directly during our banquet, and they are truly the ones who deserve to hear all my praises for the amazing work that they've done this year. But yeah, this is kind of wild. I started off in USAC my second year under the IVP office. My committee was actually the one that kind of helped start the housing relief fund, which is kind of amazing to see that still going on, and managed to get a couple of tens of thousands of dollars from surplus this year, which is amazing. I think that start for me was really what solidified like what I wanted my advocacy journey to be like in college. Very not just, people first, but like, very conscious of my history and my identity. As someone who was previously housing insecure and honestly like almost dropped out multiple times here at UCLA, to see like a project like that continue to be, uplifted and, so appreciated by the student body is definitely something that I will forever appreciate, and really just helped propel my willingness to be more involved in USAC, especially within EVP, which I later joined. I would just like to, really spend the time to like shout out my office for the different events that they helped put on. First one being the Basic Needs Farmers Market, Party to the Polls, all of our different lobby days, so Black, Latina, Swana, Transfer, Student Lobby Conference, Hill Day, the USSA Legislative Conference, Health Advocacy Lobby Day. Am I missing some? There were a lot, low key. Teach-ins on different policies, so things like TPM, Prop 6 and 36. And then some things that like I'm personally really proud of that came out of my campaign. Creating the access and retention team, which helped expand opportunities and also, student-led advocacy for different underrepresented student communities here at UCLA, including Black, transfer, non-traditional students, and as well as some other organizations as well. And with that, something that I guess has kind of stuck with me ever since my friend told me about it back in DC. But because of the work that we did, doors may have been closed in our faces when it came to access to administration, or access to different like lawmakers and potential collaborations we could have had as an office if we chose to remain neutral on things. But because we were so committed to our values as an office, really advocating for what I feel like is still something that I hope to continue seeing in EVP and in USAC in general, but the advocacy for collective liberation and really just community-centered governance. I feel like the dedication to that was ultimately so worth it. All those hours in meetings with administrators, all those lost days of school to go to UCSA conferences, to go, flying across the state and the country to help advocate for students, and really just, taking people along with me on the journey and really helping them like grow a little bit more confident in their advocacy as well was really all worth it to me. Truthfully, I dedicated way more hours to this than I ever did my academics here at UCLA, which is saying something. But I'm really glad with the end result of it because I was able to meet so many amazing people on my staff, in my directorship this year, in my exec team as well. People that I otherwise would have probably not really got to know as much. And obviously people on council as well. You guys are all amazing. And I love that, um, even when we didn't have USAC meetings, whenever y'all would just see me around, y'all would like check in on me, ask me if I'm doing okay, ask me, like stuff that was going on within your respective communities and like how that's being impacted at the system-wide level. Just really like not just viewing me as like another council member, but also as a friend and as a resource. That was something I actually really did appreciate because it made me constantly remind myself like why it is we do the work that we do, more specifically like why opposites like EVP can't afford to be anything but political, and with that means saying fuck neutrality in the face of things, especially now as we see a crackdown from all levels of governance and administration. Sorry. On all levels of administration, all levels of governance. I think it's more important now more than ever that next year's council especially adopts that mindset of really being outwardly spoken with communities. Yes, it is important to be making connections with governing bodies, whether that be the chancellor, whether that be the little minions, whether that be, state legislators. I think it's equally as important to continue placing pressure and not just using, a once a month meeting time to, say your like thank yous and hellos, but also following up with people constantly show up at their offices. I've definitely put myself on a blacklist after this year when it came to certain administrators and harassing them for like information. But again, ultimately, because we are all here to serve the student body, I feel like that's something that's kind of necessary. And a skill that's definitely like worth learning if we want to effectively advocate for our communities. And as y'all can tell, I did not really plan this out. Again, I sung most of my praises at banquet and I will be keeping it that way. But just to kind of close out, really want to again really thank my heads of staff. You guys have been my rock this year. Y'all, along with the rest of my office, were part of the reason why I never once considered dropping this position, and actually, kept on pushing through because y'all, despite being, like under my office and everything, y'all are people first. you all have your own respective lived experiences first. And it really made me value, just the worth of what student advocacy can do and accomplish, whether that be at the UCLA level, whether that be externally, or even just interpersonally, So once again, to Nami, thank you so much for keeping this office together. You've truly been a glue. The amount of times the both of us have simultaneously raged at things like SGA for holding our credit cards hostage. Guys, it's so bad. Has just been like amazing, and I'm so glad that I got to get to know you more over this past year. To Francis, again, you are my favorite straight man. You are my favorite straight man, but you're also so much more than that. You have like really, really like helped out so much in expanding our reach beyond UCLA as well. Not only just that, you have been an amazing friend, and I'm really glad that we got to spend once a week together during exec meetings, just riffing off of each other. That was really fun. And, I'm glad you didn't quit EVP after last year. And last but not least, to Sherry, hello, you're my successor. Expect to be bothered a lot, especially in the next couple of weeks, because TBH, there is a lot to be passed down, even though you've been by my side this past year. I feel like there's so much more I need to show you while I'm still here at UCLA. Mind you, I'm staying another quarter, but that's irrelevant. But your sense of humor, your sense of passion, and like eagerness to learn and really like take the first step in reaching out to different communities in need has really showed me that I never needed to question, your candidacy for EVP. Even when I thought you were going to be running against like 3 other people, like in past years and everything, I was like ride or die for Sherry until the very end. Yeah, I think just again to all of my exec team, I couldn't have been happier with the end result of what we were able to do, the amount of people we were able to support through thick and thin, through the multiple different concerning emails that we got about our office's work, and through the massive amounts of points our credit scores dropped to put on the amazing events that we did and really like help platform student voices. I thank you all for your service, and I really hope we get to stay in contact past this. But yeah.
Josh.
Hello. Hello. Adam, I wish you went from the top down because I don't think I can top a lot of these speeches, but just a few things first about some events we still have coming up. This Thursday, TSR, ISR, SWC, we are hosting an event in collaboration with the Undocumented Student Program and BMP. It is an event dedicated to Know Your Rights resources along with mental health services. It's going to be this Thursday at 6 in the Transfer Student Center, so please come out if you're interested. And then we're also planning to meet the new USAC officers event for next Thursday. One of my staff members, Angel, should be emailing all of you shortly to invite you all. And then lastly, we're still working on our housing relief apps, housing relief fund applications. We already have 120 people that applied. That's actually more than last year, so we're probably gonna have even more applicants by the time it closes on Friday. Thank you so much, Javi, for shouting it out too. And then to start off with my end of the year highlights report, I'm going to start this off the exact same way that Megan started it off last year during her last council meeting. As IVP and chair of the Appointments Review Committee, I interviewed 142 applicants this year. I interviewed some of you in the audience right now. I interviewed you, Joy. I hope I wasn't too scary. I probably wasn't, but I really enjoyed getting to know all of the appointees this year. It was a pleasure getting to meet them and just learn about their advocacy and initiatives that they were planning on working on at their time in USAC. And then huge shout out to Diego and Mona. I really enjoyed working on ARC with you guys this year. And then some other things we worked on this year. Huge shout out to Joy for spearheading this initiative. We started the Equity Coalition in collaboration with FAC, SCBC, JCU, the Disability Law Justice Society, dedicated to improving disability accessibility on campus and advocating directly to UCLA administration to improve disability accessibility. Like Joy and Kara were mentioning, we passed 2 resolutions, one concerning Bruin access services and funding, and the other advocating for reformed audits for CAE. Under Iman, our Congressional Advisory Board chair, we restarted the Congressional Advisory Board, which was established under Naomi Riley. This year, we were able to get 20 student organizations under the Congressional Advisory Board this year, and I'm hoping it'll be improved even further next year. CAB exists really to give an avenue for student orgs to express their concerns directly to both USAC and to UCLA administration. This quarter, I've had the privilege of being able to work with the MSA leadership to advocate against rising Islamophobia directly to UCLA administration, and it's something we will continue to work on for the rest of the quarter. And then in conjunction with EVP and Office of the President, we met with the Office of Campus Safety every 2 weeks, starting since fall quarter, both with Lori and Brazil to discuss imperative concerns regarding UCLA's militarization, increased policing, lack of support for undocumented and international students, as well as UCLA's revision of their TPM policies and their impact on freedom of speech. During the LA wildfires, we worked directly with Office of the President and SWC to launch the Bruin Relief Initiative. We also advocated directly to UCLA administration and the Academic Senate to move classes online during the LA wildfires. Shout out to Kiara. A few weeks ago, we hired this random moving company to move 1,500 to 2,000 pounds worth of donations to some donation site in Santa Monica. I spent $1,000 on my credit card and will be getting reimbursed soon for it. And then we also co-programmed the annual True Rune Space Ceremony in conjunction with GSA and Case Management Services at the beginning of the winter quarter to honor students who helped others in a crisis, especially RAs who helped stay behind to help those during the wildfires. And then we also worked with SABC and CSC to advocate for the survival of GCGP, since earlier this year they were threatened to be kicked out of their center in SAC. And we also helped out with their referendum, which passed, thankfully. And then we also hosted our annual off-campus housing fair, which was super successful this year. And this year we included lots of affordable housing options and housing adjacent resources. This year we had over 600 attendees connecting students with 15 different property owners on campus. And then this quarter, we also hosted our spring resource fair in conjunction with AAC, featuring 20 different campus departments and student orgs. And then we also received $75,000 from USAC from carryover to allocate to students facing financial insecurity to assist them with housing relief through our housing relief fund. And then my amazing material needs committee is reviewing those applications starting this weekend, and this all the funds will be distributed in week 10 and finals week. And then yeah, lastly, we had some other programming. We hosted pre-professional workshops for students and de-stress events, including therapy dogs and free boba for students with my amazing events team. But yeah, I've been in IVP for the past 3 years. I did not know what USAC was my freshman year. I really didn't know what I was doing my freshman year, but IVP, it gave me a home and a community on this campus. I really never thought I would be elected, but here I am today. It really was a pleasure with working with all my exec staff. Shout out to Megan, my assistant IVP, who was IVP last year. She helped me through so much this year, and likewise, I helped her through so much last year. Shout out to Suzanne and Austin, my chief of staffs as well as all my committees and their work on our amazing initiatives this year. Shout out to all of our advisors, Jessica, Lori, Lorelai, and Jonathan. Lorelai and Jonathan, thank you for letting me just barge into your office like so many days throughout this year. I think I was in your office every single day this week. ACC Event Services probably hates me, but that is okay. And then shout out to all of council as well. I wasn't really involved in any other USAC office outside of IVP, but you all gave me a new community within USAC. I think one of my favorite things this year was being able to co-program with all of you. Carolyn and Kiara, sorry, I loved working on the GCGP projects with you. Joy and Kiara, I loved working on the Equity Coalition with you both. Mona, I'm so excited for our event on Thursday. I hope everyone shows up. And then Yeah, I'm so grateful to meet so many new friends on this council this year. Mona, I loved your late night texts. I'm glad you thought of me to go to the beach at 2 in the morning or get shawarma with you at like 1 in the morning as well. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm really grateful to have served as the student body's internal vice president this year. This position has really taught me what it means to be a student advocate. It has taught me how to program, and I've learned so much about the various issues and about our different communities' needs on campus. And most importantly, I think the biggest thing that I've learned this year is that this university's power lies with the student body, not with UCLA administration. It lies directly with the student organizations and the student leaders. And I'm so excited for all of you next year. And I'm excited to see what your council will accomplish. And yeah, keep in touch if you ever need anything. But Josh Garland, the 2024 to 2025 USAC Internal Vice President, is signing out.
My updates are gonna be written. Thank you. I don't have anything written down. I'm gonna keep it short. I started ISR when I was 18 years old. I'm turning 21 in 2 weeks now, which is crazy to think about. It's been 2 really long years. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to our advisors, Jonathan, Lori, Lorelai, Jessica, for putting up with me, and thank you to all the officers for being by my side during the past year. More than anything, it's been a great developmental opportunity for me, and I know you all agree with me when I say we learned so much and we grew together. And with that being said, I adjourn this meeting at 9:48 p.m.
He's managing it. Yeah, you're stuck with him, unfortunately. But I wanted to give you guys my phone number so that you could reach out to me if you ever had a pitch for me or something happened. That's what I think about this. Are we gonna do? I was bawling during the whole speech. No, you know it. Crying. I didn't realize it was supposed to wrap your Forgot to sign up. Me too. I was not ready. Look at the dog. No, Laura's over there. My name's Kiara. Great to meet you.
I'm a person.
Oh, okay, you're gonna pass.
Like I really learned about USAC like
Okay, that's okay.
and I still don't know tools.
You got time. You got time. You got time to learn about it. You got time to run for it. I'm graduating.
Your willingness to
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. It's like the one that's open like throughout the week that has a bunch of snacks and like free things. You get what? Oh yeah, we did. Stop by.
Everyone, please gather for a quick group picture. We're gonna do old council and new council, so please gather quickly. No, stop it, one. Picture, please, picture. Everyone gather for a picture, please. Both, everyone.
Oh, group pic of everyone?
Group picture. Tamim. Diego. Jaya, Brett. 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 Both, everyone. No, okay, old first, then new and old.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for everything. Like honestly. Jonathan.
Who's taking the picture? Who has a good phone? Do you have a good phone?
No.
Who has a good phone? Oh. Yeah, Sherry. Haha. Okay, now new council as well. Yeah, or only new council. Only new council.
The building closes in 6 minutes. Just keep that. Both buildings close in 6 minutes. So if you need anything in Kirkhoff, now is the time. And we have 6 more minutes in this room. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Next week.